but will bag one player a fortune. This is WPT Alpha 8. Welcome to South Africa. We're at Johannesburg's premier gaming destination, Emperor's Palace Hotel and Casino, for the latest in A8's Super High Roller tournaments. The game we play is Texas Hold'em, and the buy-in is $100,000. Now, our field is full of some of the most dangerous players in the game today, including two-time A8 champion Philip Gruissem, who's looking to make a three-peat here in South Africa. I'm Lynn Gilmartin, here to bring you VIP access, along with A8's own poker experts Ali Najad and Olivier Bousquet over in the clubwpt.com skybox. How's it looking, guys?
Well, it's looking like a whole lot of big game, but of course we're not talking safari animals, we're talking poker players, and we have assembled a very tough field of them here in Johannesburg.
Yeah, no doubt about it, including one of the biggest and most intimidating names in poker, his first time at one of our A8 events, Phil Ivey, two-time A8 champion Philip Gruissem, the legendary Eric Seidel, and one of the best players in the world, Jason Mercier.
Yeah, if you've ever watched poker on television, a lot of those names should be familiar to you. And here's another one, Antonio Esfandiari. He has the single largest cash in poker history, over $18 million, and he's looking to add to his career total here today.
All in all, it looks like we have an incredibly tough field.
Now, as per usual, our Lynn Gilmartin, along with our venue, this time the Emperor's Palace Hotel and Casino here in Johannesburg, threw the players a little welcome party.
South Africa is a very laid-back place. So far, so good. I'm really liking the vibe and the people. I'm looking forward to having some fun here.
Johannesburg has really been an incredible experience. You know, it's just amazing to be here and to get to play poker.
So first time in Africa and having a great time. It's exceeded expectations. It's been a lot of fun. It's definitely worth the trip.
Our third place finisher at the Seminole Hard Rock Alpha 8 event, Jeff Gross, showing his dance moves there. Now, Jeff, interestingly enough, is one of three players to have perfect Alpha 8 attendance so far. The other two are here today, Eric Seidel and Philip Gruissem.
Now, another A8 regular who's joined us, Max Altergott, part of that German contingent who've been taking the high rollers by storm in the last couple of years. Also, Dan Cates, known as Jungle Man Online, one of only a handful of players able to beat the nosebleed heads-up cash games, has joined us. And we have one local businessman, Kanesh Pather, who's going to have a real tough task ahead of him if he wants to succeed at this very elite table.
Yeah, a bit of a dream and a nightmare all rolled into one for his debut. Now, our 9 players are seated at the feature table. They each began with 100,000 in chips. Early chip leader is Dan Cates. He's got over 140,000. Blinds are at 4 and 800. Ante is at 100. Button is on Jeff Gross.
How much could Jungle Man borrow from us? If he just keeps busting every hand, right? He's borrowing from Phil, me, Eric, whatever. What's his maximum limit? At what point can he not borrow any more money, Max?
And Antonio's giving him a credit check.
You mean nobody would borrow him money?
Do you assume that we all have the money to loan?
Yeah, let's say we all have the money to loan.
Phil Ivey looks very interested in this conversation.
He just keeps busting every hand.
What's the number, Olivier?
It's probably pretty high.
Original, ladies and gentlemen.
It's probably in the millions.
We've got an original.
He's obviously playing really well.
Queen Jack suited for Antonio, who has the action folded over to him. And we'll raise it to 1,800.
Yeah, he must be playing so bad. I would give him like everything I had.
Seidel has made the call here, but he hasn't shown his cards to the whole cam. Any chance that's on purpose?
Sometimes when you're playing, you just kind of forget or you just mess up with the cards. So we'll have to see if he continues to do it to see if it's something he was doing on purpose.
Daniel Cates calls from the small blind with 10-8 suited. And Ivey will, of course, join the party for another 1,000 with pocket fives. 4 players to the flop. And it's Ace-King-10, the nuts for Antonio.
Yeah, huge flop for Antonio. Not too much else for
38.
The other players. We don't know Eric's hand. Jungle Man does have bottom pair.
Cates and Ivey both check to Antonio, who bets 3,800.
Eric ultimately deciding to fold. It'd be interesting to see what he was thinking about continuing with there.
Cates folded as well, and Ivey gets away. Pot over to Antonio.
Yeah, it's pretty tough for Antonio when you flop the nuts on a board where you expect people to have some sort of hand that connects with it, but Antonio gets no action with his flop straight.
Yeah, that texture is the type that you would think players that are calling a raise pre-flop would have connected with. And this time, not quite as nice a hand. 8-3 offsuit. He'll send it into the muck. Pocket tens for Seidel, who makes it 1,800.
This time, showing us his cards.
And Kanesh with 5-6 suited, executive director at a platinum mine here in South Africa. On his Twitter, it says he's an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and poker guru.
Nice combination.
Fold it around to Philip Gruissem. He'll call with ace-queen offsuit, and 3 players will take this flop.
Pretty big hand here from Philip to just call from the big blind.
And Philip flops the best hand, ace-8-4 with a couple of clubs.
Kanesh, though, with both a flush draw and a straight draw, pretty big flop for him as well.
Seidel follows through with his pre-flop raise, betting 3,000.
Reasonable bet here from Seidel. He's got an early position caller, and then the big blind could have very wide range. With 2 calls, though, I think Eric's probably going to shut down.
15-7 in the middle, and there's the turn card Kanesh was looking for, the deuce of clubs. Both players check to Pather.
Kanesh makes a flush here. Philip, with the queen of clubs, could make a higher flush if another club comes. I expect Pather to bet most of the time here with a turned flush, trying to build the pot and protect his hand from another club.
And he bets 7,500.
Decent sizing, about half the pot. I think a number of players would elect a size similar to this. I prefer a larger size.
Seidel bowing out, and the river is a 5. Gruissem checks.
Not a great card for Philip. It's unlikely that Pather would have a 3 in his hand, given the preflop action, but still, he is a relatively unknown player, so 9.
And he's betting 9,000. That is a pretty small bet.
It's very small, huh?
I think Pather at this point puts Philip on an ace and is really just trying to get paid here. I think Philip understands that he's beat most of the time, but he's getting a very good price. Plus, I think there's some value to seeing the hand of a player that you've not played any hands with.
And Philip's going to make the call and get a look at clubs.
Nice pot for our amateur.
Yeah, everyone real happy that Philip made that call there. Clearly they're paying attention, try to build a profile on Pather. With the silver lining there, of course, that's just less chips for Philip.
Right. Okay. As good as Philip is, he's exceptionally dangerous when he's got a big stack.
Raise to 2,000 from the pocket nines of Dan Cates. No caller so far, but something tells me Antonio's not folding. Pocket aces. He's made it 5,200 total, and it's pocket eights, a third pocket pair, in front of Kanesh Pather, who just folds.
Good disciplined fold there from Kanesh. He is in the small blind, so he would be out of position throughout the hand, and there's, of course, a re-raise in front of him. Jungle Man not going anywhere, being the original raiser, and pretty strong pair.
He calls the extra 3,200 and flops gin, queen, queen, 9.
Huge flop for Jungle Man.
He checks it, and so does Antonio.
Yeah, a little bit surprising from Antonio, probably trying to control the size of the pot, maybe even disguising the strength of his hand a little bit, hoping that Jungle Man takes a shot on the turn.
And indeed, Jungle Man will fire 6,500.
Antonio smartly not raising, just deciding to call.
And a 3 hits the river. Cates has slipped it to him here, giving him some rope.
Interesting and I think very good check from Jungle Man. Now the real question is, how much is he going to check raise to, and if Antonio will ultimately decide to pay off. So I think part of the reason Antonio checked on the flop was to try to avoid a situation like this. Unfortunately for him, Jungle Man played his hand really tricky and has still managed to put Antonio in the spot he was trying to avoid by check raising the river.
And the tough thing for Antonio is he understands what Daniel's perception of his hand and his range could potentially be as a result of him checking the flop.
Right, when Antonio checks the flop, he's essentially capped his range. It's very unlikely Antonio would have a very big hand when he does that. So from that point of view, Antonio might feel like he's vulnerable to a check raise since he doesn't have too many very strong hands. And though he does have pocket aces, again, in this position, given the action, this is not a very strong hand. It's really just a bluff catcher. He's only beating a bluff from Jungle Man. I have it.
Esfandiari puts another 46,000 into the middle, and you see Cates right away tells him, I have it. He understands that he had polarized his range there, and it was either all or nothing.
Nice hand.
Jungleman getting paid off there. I really like the way he played his hand. Nice line there to check raise the river. And then I think part of it is his reputation as being such an aggressive player, more than capable of bluffing in a spot like that. Ends up getting paid off from Antonio's pocket aces.
Alpha 8 is brought to you by ClubWPT.com. Fun, exciting poker you can play for free.
The players are awesome. I mean, there's some of the top players here in the world. You know, I like it anytime you get to put up 100,000 and play against the best players. That's why I play poker. It was like I took a year off from poker, and I came back, and all the Germans were like the best players. I mean, it's just amazing. Eric, I've known Eric a long time. He's as tough as a player as it gets. Antonio, I mean, he's had a great run the last couple of years. He's gotten better and better as the years go on. Jason Mercier, I think he plays great. I mean, just like everybody at the table's playing really well. It's really important to be paying attention. You know, you're assessing your opponents, trying to figure out what they're thinking, why they're doing what they do, and gathering all the information so you can make the best possible decision against them later.
Yeah, I think a lot of the players think that they have an edge at a table that's even this tough. Phil just might be one of the few players who actually does.
Picking up the action, you'll notice that there is a 10th participant in this final table, and she has actually got her hands on Kanesh Pather. This is something that happens all the time, right? Stressful environment, why not get a massage?
Doesn't happen that often at televised poker tables, but it is very common at a tournament poker table or at a cash game. For players to be getting massages.
Pocket nines for Pather, who raises to 2,500 while he enjoys some work on his upper back, neck, and shoulders. That's where everyone keeps it. Gross folds. Cates with 10-8 suited will make the call. Ivey laying down. Altergott pitching the queen-jack offsuit in. And it's pocket aces for Jason Mercier.
Pretty nice spot for Jason here, in position with aces against an amateur.
Any chance he slow plays? No way. He's in the cutoff. He's re-raised to 8,000, and Antonio has pocket kings. The writing is pretty much on the wall here. Uh-oh.
And Antonio loving this spot, actually, expecting to more than double up. Unfortunately for him, though, Jason holding the only hand that beats 2 kings.
Yeah, Antonio has no choice but to move it all in for his final 12,000. Seidel folding, and it's back over to Pather, who showed some discipline earlier with pocket eights in not exactly the same situation, but certainly something that demonstrated that he's not as much of an amateur as one might be led to believe, and again showing more discipline here as he lays down. Cates with the easy fold, and Mercier with the even easier call gives Antonio the bad news.
Some days you're the bug.
The remainder of that thought is some days you're the windshield.
Antonio looking especially frustrated. Not his day today, losing with aces, and now his kings run into aces.
Esfandiari praying to hit a king on this flop. Instead, it's 10-5-4.
And I can give you 100.
Turn card is a 6. And Antonio has 2 outs once. 8 of diamonds is not one of them.
Hey, at least you won the big one, aces the kings, you know? I won the little one.
Man, Esfandiari is going to be sent in search of another 100,000 should he wish to continue.
See, Antonio gets aces versus my kings when it's like, you know, 5 million in equity on the line.
And Mercier looking to provide him with some consolation.
Jason referring to the one-drop tournament at the World Series, the $1 million buy-in. Jason got kings to Antonio's pocket aces. Antonio, of course, going on to win that tournament.
Okay, so Phil, we're even. Jason, you own 5.
And we're even now with the aces of kings.
Yeah, we're even.
Antonio is officially busted, but with the re-entry period still open, if you're Esfandiari, are you going in search of another 100,000 or no?
Well, it's tough to say. I mean, this is a very, very tough table. So from a value point of view, I'm not sure it makes a lot of sense to re-enter. But if you've flown all the way to South Africa to play a poker tournament and you bust when the re-entry period is still available and you have the money to play, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty tough not to re-enter. You're already there, you've made the trip, you've invested a lot of time, so I'd be surprised, to be honest, if Antonio didn't re-enter.
Well, something tells me Lynn Gilmartin will be sure to ask.
And do you feel like you played fine? You just ran bad?
You know, I made one mistake. I paid off Jungle for a huge bet. He played the hand very well, and I think a little part of me was frustrated because I had aces, so I was pretty tilted about that. And then I woke up with kings and lost the aces. So it was kind of like just one of those days where you're, you know, the bug on the windshield, and I don't know if I'm going to come back in.
But you're still a good spot, even though you cop that. How are you mentally when you're copping those sort of bad beats?
You can't win unless you lose, so it is what it is.
If poker ever goes wrong for him, Antonio certainly has a future in fortune cookie writing. Do you know when to hold 'em and when to fold 'em? Prove your poker supremacy and rise to the top of the ClubWPT.com leaderboard.
Play all the poker you want 100% free, today and every day, at ClubWPT.com.
Welcome back to WPT Alpha 8 Johannesburg. This star-studded feature table is going strong, so let's get over to Ali and Olivier up in the ClubWPT.com skybox.
Thank you, Lynn. Let's get a look at the chip counts. Daniel Cates with over 190,000 is your chip leader, followed by the amateur, Kanesh Pather, the local. He's got 142 and change, and Philip Gruissem in third. Short stack currently belongs to Phil Ivey. Button is on Jason Mercier, and it's folded around to Phil Ivey. He has ace-9 offsuit and raises it up to 2,500, but it's pocket jacks for Max Altergott.
Specifically 3 cards, or are you picking just 3 different cards?
And he is going to 3-bet to 6,500. Altergott starts the hand with about 77,000, and that 3-bet he made thins the field back over to Ivey, and he's just going to call the extra 4K.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this call from Phil. I think a 4-bet with his hand would have been acceptable, but I think a fold is probably preferable. A call out of position with ace-9 offsuit, definitely not the play I would have elected for. Really plays pretty poorly against Max's range.
2 queens and a 7 on the flop. Ivey checks. And Max checks right behind him. We saw Antonio take a similar line on an almost identical board with pocket aces earlier.
Yeah, personally, I think betting is better than checking, but these guys have decided to take a free card, that this turn queen is going to be a great card for Max. He's going to be very comfortable with his pocket jacks now.
Oh, so much so that he's just going to try to lure Ivey in with a small bet of 3,500.
It's very odd, especially against someone like Phil Ivey. I wouldn't try some unorthodox small bet here. I'm not sure why Max has decided to play his hand like this.
Careful what you wish for. Ivey could hit an ace on the river and end up with the best hand, but instead he spikes a 9 after making the call and now checks, and this is a problematic river for Phil.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the ideal turn of events for Max. After his kind of bizarrely small turn bet, Phil has now hit a 9 and made a worse full house.
Max bets 13,500.
This is a more kind of standard sizing on the river, and it's just worked out perfectly for Max because Phil has hit his 9, and I can't imagine Phil, after calling the turn, now folding on the river. But I'm not really a huge fan of the way either player played this hand, especially Phil Ivey.
But if you're Ivey, do you think there's any chance that your 9 is good here? I mean, the line that he took is it ever a bluff?
It could be, could also be maybe pocket 8s, or this is a weirdly played hand. I think once he gets to the river and hits the 9, he kind of feels obligated to pay off.
Yeah, as we see him do.
Yeah, I think the best play for Phil is just to fold pre-flop. His hand just doesn't play well, and Max is actually a pretty conservative, relatively nitty player among this group. I would just kind of give him credit and move on to the next hand.
Well, Ivey's stack takes a bit of a dip, but the real plunge, that was taken by the Germans outside the casino.
Are you nervous? How are you feeling?
Yeah, a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit excited. I want to get out of my comfort zone in every single possible way.
Now, parting way with $100,000, that's not out of your comfort zone enough?
Not anymore.
Now that you see that it's like a rinky-dink bridge, does it make you nervous?
No, I think it's good. No, I'm really looking forward to this.
Come from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow, it was such a sick feeling.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow.
Thanks, man. Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, it's just flying, you know. I love it.
Yeah, thrill seekers to the max are a lot of these players.
Speaking of thrill seekers, here comes Antonio Esfandiari looking for a little bit more thrill in his life as he has bought in for a second 100,000, and the re-registration period has drawn to a close.
Anything interesting while I was gone?
You are the life of the party, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Very tall without you.
Yeah, we were quiet before you get back.
If you hadn't bought in, we were all going to kick in just to get you back here. It was too quiet and dull.
I never pegged Seidel as the type to get a massage at the table. He always seemed too focused on what was going on, but I guess when in Rome, or Johannesburg as the case may be.
Looks like it relaxed him too as he gave Antonio a little needle. You don't see that from Eric that much either.
He's actually really funny. If you follow him on Twitter, he's got a great dry wit and a great sense of humor.
Just doesn't come out at the table that often.
No. Action folded around to Kanesh, who lays down the ace-deuce.
I know. I know what you're saying.
Gross mucks as well, and it's pocket aces for Daniel Cates. He's gonna raise it up to 3,500.
Oh, wow.
Oh, look at this. Max Altergott with pocket queens.
Button versus big blind. Aces versus queens is pretty much a can't get away from cooler regardless, but button versus big blind, this is just a nightmare for Max.
Here's the 3-bet from Max to 12-6.
How much do you have?
105.
Kind of a big 3-bet here from Max.
You started with just over 100,000. Cates is the big stack at the table. He began this hand with just shy of 180K. And here comes the 4-bet to 22,000 total.
All in.
Call.
Queens.
I have aces.
Yeah, Max ships it all in. Snap call from Daniel leaves that ugly feeling in the pit of Max's stomach as he knows he's in trouble. Here comes the flop. Queen, 9,
Wow.
king, right away, set of queens.
Everyone's so bad and so stupid.
Oh, Max is all smiles. Oh, but not anymore. An ace on the turn.
Unbelievable.
Suck and resuck, as they say.
This would send Jungle out of his chair, by the way. If you want to see entertainment, I recommend a Queen on the River.
Anyone for the queen?
Will it be a queen on the end? No, it's a 3.
I was not unhappy about the flop.
I was very happy about the turn.
Just like that, Max goes from thinking he's going to double up and become the chip leader
He is more.
to now being out of the tournament.
Like, I've actually never seen.
And the timing couldn't be any worse for Max because the re-registration period just came to an end.
Yeah, that means that we're going to actually say goodbye to Max, and we are going to be down to 8 players.
Okay, well, good luck. Lewis.
Well, Max, I hope you didn't prepay for that massage. There's the red wash.
But
Chungo, you look pretty upset.
I love when he gets tilted. It's the best.
Well, that's not what everyone else wanted to see. They've lost Max, but they've also seen Daniel Cates' stack grow to over 280,000.
That's right, that spells trouble for the rest of the table when Jungle Man has over twice any of the other players' chips.
Our Alpha 8 field is set when we return to Johannesburg.
You're going to take us out into the wild, our first game drive. Should I be scared?
No, you in my hands, so you don't have to worry about anything.
Let's go. Check this out. We've got a baby with its mother. I think the baby's having a little tantrum.
Oh my god, he's up. 50% of the time when I see them, they react aggressively towards the vehicle.
He's looking right at you.
He's grilling. Oh my god. Look straight at him. How old are those cubs?
I would like to say it's just maybe 2 months.
Nico, you've been awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I mean, the skybox is great, but why didn't we get a Safari invite?
I'm pretty sure this is the only poker tournament in the world where part of the entry fee is a free Safari for the players.
Was
It's
that
really
true?
just unbelievable. Yeah,
Oh, that's
that was
awesome.
True. Yeah, it was pretty incredible.
For the players, huh? Okay, that's fine, because the commentators don't need Safaris. Fine!
Well, the commentators don't put up $100,000.
That is an excellent point. Anyhow, back to the table. There's a look at how things shake up. Phil Ivey unexpectedly down below 40,000 in chips. Certainly not the type of territory we're used to seeing him in. Daniel Cates still atop the leaderboard. Action is folded around to Philip Gruissem, who has ace-king suited.
Big hand here for Philip.
Seidel getting some intense deep tissue in the upper trap area, apparently forgetting that he needs to show his cards.
I don't really have like moves, exactly.
Eric 3-bets to 9,300. Jeff Gross looks down at 2 queens.
Yeah, now for Jeff, with his stack, Jeff starting the hand with just under 70,000. I think it likely that he'll either put in a small 4-bet here to Eric's 3-bet or just go all in outright. Can't imagine him folding.
All in.
And Gross ships it all in. Cates folding. Back over to Gruissem now.
All in.
Oh, and he moves all in over the top.
Wow.
Wants to get heads up. And he will as Seidel lays down.
Go down, guys. Philip's showing.
And it's a classic race between 2 queens and ace-king, but as you'll notice, it's a 55-44 advantage in favor of the ace-king suited.
And the reason for that is the statisticians are including the cards from the other players. A queen has been folded, and there are no aces or kings that have been folded.
Flop is 8-5-4 rainbow, and now Jeff is a 2-1 favorite.
Oh.
Turn card is a deuce, however, giving Gruissem some additional outs. He can hit an ace, king, or a 3 to send Jeff packing. Instead, it's a 9, and Jeff Gross will better than double up, taking down a pot of 151,000 and change.
Catapulting him into second place now behind Dan Cates. Still the overwhelming chip leader with a little under 300,000.
Great flop.
Does Jungle have a chance, or should we get off the subject?
No comment.
Jungle! Huh?
How does this work? Give us some advice for the Tantra massage. Some general rules.
Well, the principle is that you're supposed to treat the girl like a goddess, basically.
And how did you do that?
By how you touch her and stuff like that. Well, in the workshop, there's actually like a girl that you practice on.
I've never seen Eric Seto laugh so much in my life.
Even the normally stoic Phil Ivey can't seem to keep a straight face.
And there's like an instructor and all that.
What is happening?
Meanwhile, Jason with ace-8 offsuit has decided to raise here.
It has been, to be fair, a pretty riveting table talk session.
Only with Antonio does this conversation go in this direction.
He's teaching a class in 2 days in Johannesburg.
Gruissem has pocket 10s.
I think Philip has 2 legitimate options here, just calling or 3-betting.
Well, he opts for the latter, making it 8,500.
The ever-aggressive Philip should take down the pot pretty easily. Not much of a hand for anyone else. Jason, I can't imagine continuing with just ace-8 off.
And sure enough, Mercier folds, unlike Ivey did earlier against Altergott in a very similar situation.
Yeah, Jason, a little bit more of a disciplined player pre-flop.
So continue, Jungle. You treat him like a goddess. But can we talk about the girl that's in class that everybody's touching?
Well, no, it's a private class.
Oh, okay. So it's an instructor and a girl and you?
Yeah.
It's actually not uncommon for conversations on varied subjects to emerge in poker tables like this, and they kind of they take these small breaks when hands go on, and then when the hand is over, the conversation starts again, and it just kind of keeps going in these starts and stops.
Do you think the regularity with which Antonio seems to be the instigator of these sorts of moments is based on just him being social, or is there really like an angle here as far as the poker is concerned to get people thinking about something other than the cards?
You know, I think it's always some sort of combination. I mean, I think Jungleman being the chip leader, Antonio could very easily be trying to distract him. But at the same time, Jungle is an open engager in these types of situations. He's willing to kind of just be honest and talk about what he thinks and how he feels, whereas a lot of other people would just kind of close up, focus on the poker and not say much.
Yeah, there was only, it was a private lesson.
So did you privately learn?
Yes, I privately learned.
Did you enjoy it?
Antonio just relentless.
Yeah, it was interesting. I learned a couple things.
3,500.
Mercier with ace-6 suited. Raises to 4,000. And that is a min raise, because the temperature isn't the only thing that's gone up in the room. The blinds have also gone up to 1 and 2,000 and an ante of 300. Meanwhile, Kanesh in the big blind looks down at pocket sevens and will defend. Never a 3-bet?
My preference is to just call and see a flop. Pretty good one here with queen, queen, 4 for Kanesh's pocket sevens. Kanesh, of course, our local businessman. Pretty tough task for him playing against this elite table of top professionals. Jason, continuation bets 3,600 here.
Pather check calls. Coincidentally, Pather has a second-place finish in a 2012 World Series of Poker circuit event, taking down 58,200, and he's got over 144,000 in live results as we see the ace peel off on the turn, giving Mercier the best hand.
Yeah, disaster here for Kanesh.
But Jason just checks.
Yeah, I think Jason wants to check here just to make sure that he has the best hand. I think if Kanesh were to bet here on the river, Jason might even consider folding his ace, but when he gets a check, feels pretty confident that his hand is best and can now bet again for value.
The 6 is irrelevant to Jason's hand. He's playing aces and queens with the board kicker, and he'll fire 7,500.
Another relatively small bet, less than half the pot here. I think he's correctly assessed that Kanesh does not have a very strong hand and really can only call with a medium strength to weak hand, so a big bet would not make a lot of sense, unlikely to get called.
But certainly more likely than a larger bet, as Mercier's sizing earns him an extra 7,500 on the end. Would have loved to have seen a hero check raise there by Kanesh, turning his hand into a bluff. That would have put Jason in a tough spot.
Yeah, I think Jason probably would have just folded, but he's correctly identifying the type of player that Kanesh is, wasn't really worried too much about that play, and instead extracted max value with his hand. Very nicely played from Jason Mercier.
Antonio might want to stick to being the table captain / comedian. Dancing, I think we leave that to Jeff Gross.
Well, it looks like he's having fun. It's nice to see the players getting a little taste of the local culture. A lot of times you see players traveling around the world to all these different destinations, but it doesn't seem like they're really experiencing the cultures of the place they go into. They kind of just stay in their hotel rooms and then stay in the casinos.
Well, someone who may have a tough time staying in the casino much longer is Phil Ivey, sitting on the short stack of just over 17,000 in chips.
Yeah, about 9 big blinds. Phil Ivey going to be looking for a spot to move his chips in pretty soon.
Well, he's going to be first to act in this pot.
She left you for Ivey, Jungle? She left you for Ivey?
Apparently.
Very Jungle.
And he gets a look at King Queen offsuit. And he'll send the rest of his soldiers into the battlefield.
Good enough. 9 bigs.
Folded around to Antonio, who's got ace-jack suited.
Ivey definitely not looking to get called here, but Antonio with ace-jack suited likely going to call.
And he does just that. Potentially inviting a squeeze play behind him?
No, I think when Antonio calls here, it looks pretty strong. I think he would just call with aces or kings as well, so he can pretty comfortably fold if somebody puts in another raise.
So Ivey, an almost 2-to-1 dog, heading to the flop. And that flop has an ace in the window with 2 diamonds behind it.
Pretty good flop.
Disaster for Phil Ivey here.
So much so that he's going to cancel his massage. No need to leave the meter running, and on the turn, Ivey officially drawing dead.
No more props.
And has been eliminated in 8th place.
Phil Ivey just unable to get anything going here. This very tough table.
Look.
Yeah, it was essentially all downhill after he got involved in that large pot with Max Altergott. Well, maybe the massage is the kiss of death. Altergott also was knocked out while getting a rub down. And we're down to just 7 as we send it over to Lynn.
Well, Phil, that's it for you. What's going through your head right now?
Nothing, just gonna try to get a good night's sleep.
Now, how's the vibe at the table?
It's very chill, relaxed. I mean, all these guys know each other, so it's just a very chill vibe. Everybody's having fun, and I think it'll get pretty serious tomorrow late.
All right, well, great to see you play, and we'll see you again soon.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
We rejoin the action at the final table where Antonio has raised it to 4,200 with ace-5 offsuit.
A little ambitious from Antonio with ace-5 off.
Kanesh mucks it, and Jeff Gross has queen-jack suited. And Jeff Gross has apparently hit the local trinket shop. It's his card protector. Looks like an elephant. Something tells me he didn't pack that.
Poker players are famously superstitious, looking for any possible edge, anything that can help bring them good luck.
An elephant's known for being lucky. That's not true. Maybe it is, I don't know. Here comes the flop. Oh, maybe they are lucky. 2 queens and a 4.
Pretty nice flop for Jeff Gross,
who gently checks it over to Antonio.
Antonio's pretty relentless with his continuation betting.
He bets 5,100, and Gross quickly calls.
Jeff obviously could have considered raising here, but decides to just call, hoping Antonio will keep firing.
He fills up on the turn. And Gross looks back at his hand. You ever think anything when a guy looks back at his hand in a spot like that? Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, it's very odd to look back at your hand and then to bet. He bet very small. Jeff playing this hand a little unorthodox, check calling the flop, leading the turn when the 4 pairs.
Antonio made the call on the turn, and now it's 10,500 if he wants to call the river.
Antonio with his ace high obviously only beats a bluff, and as we've seen in some of the previous shows, Jeff Gross really not bluffing very often, especially on the river. This is just too weak of a hand here, I think, for Antonio to consider calling.
And Antonio knows Jeff well enough that it's doubtful he'll think that he just floated the flop and then fired with air on 2 streets.
Yeah, I mean, missed diamonds is a possibility, but I don't think Jeff would play it that often like this. Not to mention, Jeff has put 3 bets in post-flop.
Queen.
Antonio not agreeing, though, and paying Jeff off.
I'm pretty sure Antonio coined a term for what he just did there.
Yeah, it's called a POW, standing for payoff wizard.
That's what you get for needling me.
Just have it, huh? They just have it.
Well, those aren't the sorts of situations Antonio's looking for, sitting on his second bullet. Phil Ivey is one of the greats of the game. Log on to clubwpt.com/alpha8 and find out the uncensored truth of what his fellow pros really think. Catch all their surprising commentary on the A8 Clip of the Week. It's all here at clubwpt.com. Fun, exciting poker you can play for free.
Tell me, what's with the animals?
Well, you know, we're in Africa, South Africa, and I just figured it would be some good energy. So I was at the store yesterday in the shops, and I picked up a couple.
Now, you've given one of them to Kanesh, though. Do you feel like you're passing over your good juju?
Yeah, I thought it was worth the risk, though. You know, he's like a local. He's the only guy I don't know, so I figured I'd share a little. I got like 5 animals, a couple in my bag, and I actually gave him the elephant first. He was doing so well. I told him it was on loan, so I took it back for Dorban, and I gave him the other one. But
And has it worked?
yeah, I mean, we're both above starting, and we stayed away from each other, and yeah, so far so good. So
Okay.
yeah, it's been good. I think it's working well.
What Jeff's not telling us is that tooth on his necklace, he personally wrestled that out of the mouth of a Nile crocodile.
Now, what I'm unsure about is why Jeff is staying away from the amateur. Well, I mean, having position on Pather seems like a pretty good spot. I would try to be getting in pots with him, not staying away from him.
First one that
Everyone has their own strategy, I guess.
As we get a look at the chip counts, Daniel Cates still sitting comfortably ahead of second place Jason Mercier. Blinds are at 12 and 2,400. Ace-5 suited for Antonio. He opens the pot with a raise to 5,300.
I'd like to see a 3-bet here from Pather with King-Jack offsuit. Seems slightly too weak to just call an early position raise.
Markup or anything like that, though.
Too strong to fold?
No, I think folding is acceptable. I mean, I think calling is okay. I just think 3-betting is better. It's a hand that plays pretty well in position as a 3-bet, especially against someone like Antonio, who raises with such a wide range in early position.
Action folded all the way around to the big blind of Philip Gruissem, who's got ducks. And he is gonna defend for an extra 2,900, and 3 players will head to the flop. And that flop. A 4 and a couple of trays. Not awful for Gruissem. Gruissem's got the best hand right now, while Antonio has a wheel draw. Both players checking over to Kanesh, and rather than take a shot at the flop, Pather closed the action by checking behind, and now an ace on the turn.
Now, after Pather checked the flop, Antonio might be afraid that Pather actually has a bigger ace than him. It's part of the problem with raising an early position with a weak ace.
2 checks in front of Kanesh, and with 19-9 in there, he's going to try to buy the pot with a bet of 7,500.
Now, this is a small bet from Pather, but we've seen in the past him make relatively small bets, even with strong hands, so probably not too much that can be read into this bet. Now, I'm not sure why Philip has decided to pick this spot to raise. There's very little that he's representing here.
He's made it 20,000.
I guess Philip is really the only player out of the 3 players who could have a 3 in his hand, having defended from the big blind, but still, this just is not a very credible raise. I don't like it from Philip. I think Antonio's a little bit suspicious, but he's just kind of sandwiched in between the 2 other players, so tough for him to continue. And Pather, of course, without any hand, not really sure what he can do. Gruissem, though he's bluffing, actually has a better hand than Pather here with his pocket pair. So just a little bit fortunate that he's picking a spot where his opponents can't really fight back.
Well, the zebra not too lucky for Pather in that spot, and a great play by our 2-time Alpha 8 champion, Philip Gruissem.
Oh, very nice play, sir. That did not work out how I wanted it to. I laid down the best hand for sure.
Yeah, personally, even though I'm not really a fan of that play, I think if you're going to err on one side in poker tournaments, you should definitely err on the side of aggression. Gives you an extra chance to win chips, and if you do make hands, helps you get paid off as well.
That was gruesome.
So that draws the curtain on this evening's action. As we take a look at the 7 remaining players of our original 9, each of whom have their sights set on the $500,000 first place prize.
So join us next time as coverage continues of WPT Alpha 8 Johannesburg. For Ali Najad and Olivier Bousquet, I'm Lynn Gilmartin. Good night. Discovering diamonds in South Africa means big money. But at our powerhouse final table, hearts, clubs and spades are all just as valuable. This is WPT Alpha 8. Welcome back to the ultra-swank Emperor's Palace Hotel and Casino in the thriving metropolis of Johannesburg. A8 is returning 7 strong, and each of our players have paid at least $100,000 to enter. So with that kind of money at risk, it's no surprise that this final table is stacked with poker royalty. Currently, jungle man Dan Cates has a commanding chip lead, but will he live up to his nickname and emerge king of this jungle? A8 commentators Ali Najad and Olivier Bousquet are on hand to analyse all the action from the clubwpt.com skybox. Gentlemen.
Hey, Lynn, you are correct. Daniel Cates is currently king of the jungle, sitting on a massive chip lead. But Olivier, you and I both know a chip lead isn't worth anything. It's all about how you finish. And if Daniel Cates is the clear favorite right now, is there anybody who you think might be best situated to dethrone him?
Well, I think the obvious choice would be Philip Gruissem. He's already won 2 of our events. But if I had to pick one player, it would probably be Jason Mercier. Both because he's got a lot of chips, he's currently second, but also because he's such a phenomenal player. If he can make some hands as we get down to 6 and 5 players, look for him to make a deep run here.
Yeah, Mercier in and out of the #1 slot on the Global Poker Index, but the real story is Daniel Cates. And apparently that King of the Jungle title was something he earned not only on the felt, but during a recent quad bike outing here in South Africa.
Look at his teeth. He was fighting lions. So Antonio, off to the spa now.
Off to the spa.
Is it just me, or did Jungle Man lose a tooth?
I think he was trying to make some dirt beard and some got in his mouth.
Looked like he got a dirt sandwich. Prize pool totals, $975,000. First prize is $500,000. Second, $275,000. Third, a cool $200,000. And tell him what fourth gets, Olivier.
Gets a handshake and a walk home.
It's a long walk. It's actually a swim and a walk for most of these guys. And let's get a look at the chip counts. Jeff Gross currently has about 155,000. That's good for third place in the chip counts right now. The leader is Dan Cates. Jason Mercier in second. Blinds are at 12 and 2,400 with a 400 ante. Button will start off on Antonio Esfandiari, and Jeff Gross will be first to act. Gross, just 27 years of age, hailing from Baltimore.
5,000.
Gross starting things off with King Jack offsuit, raises to 5,500 with the blinds at 12 and 24. And he is 400. Esfandiari folds. And Eric Seidel with 9 deuce suited, perhaps part of the reason he's been fairly quiet so far in this tournament. Ace 4 offsuit for Kanesh, the local entrepreneur. Calls Johannesburg home.
Pather, more conservative player, a little bit more passive.
Cool.
Pather describes himself as a philanthropist and poker guru, as well as being an entrepreneur. He's an executive director at a platinum mine here. And the flop, he's mined a pair of 4s. Checks it over to Jeff.
Jeff with just king high, taking a shot here. I like this continuation bet from Jeff. It's a little on the smallish side.
Well, as long as he makes bets of that size with strong hands as well, then he's not giving anything away. But otherwise, it's certainly a mistake as we see Kanesh call, and the board pairs on the turn.
The 7 considerably more likely to hit Pather than Gross. I expect it to go check here on the turn.
Well, Pather has checked, and he can't mine that card. You'd rather see the board pair than a third card over a 4 hit.
It's definitely a much better card for Pather's range and for his actual hand.
75.
Jeff fires 7,500 this time, still small.
Very small bet and just a little bit inexplicable. I'm not sure why Jeff would bet again on the turn. The only thing that I could possibly think is that he's trying to keep control of the hand and maybe even extract value from a straight draw that Pather had. If Pather had 5-6 or 8-9, Jeff would have the best hand. But overall, I don't like this play. I'm not really sure why he's making it.
And the river, a third diamond and an 8.
If Jeff was bluffing on the turn, I would have much preferred a bigger bet. I can't imagine Pather folding any pair there for such a small bet.
And this is the kind of card that spikes Pather's range after a turn call big time.
Yeah, if Pather did have a straight draw, he's now made a pair of 8s or even a straight. It also brought in a backdoor flush here.
Jeff faced with a third check and has to decide whether or not he's going to bluff with king high. It's a scary board to fire a third bullet.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's going through Jeff's mind.
Well, 8 of diamonds, single worst river card in the deck. Can't.
He tells us exactly what's going through his mind as he shuts it down.
That's good.
And takes a look at ace 4, probably wishing in hindsight he would have fired.
I thought I had the best hand. Couldn't beat any draw on the river. 5-6, 8-9. Yeah, I had a big ace. I had a good hand, yeah. I thought I had the best hand. Nice hand.
Must be a great hand.
Huh? I mean, I was beating all the yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like Jeff was kind of hoping that Pather didn't have a pair and just had a straight draw. The 7 in general, I think, is a tough card for Jeff to really represent much.
400 on the end.
Maybe,
My name is Kanesh Pather. I'm a South African poker player, but I'm a businessman.
It's cool that there's someone to represent South Africa and play in this prestigious event.
I have a feeling that he knows what he's doing and he's waiting to use his image to his benefit.
That's a pretty good read by Antonio, considering Kanesh has pretty much laid in the weeds for the most part so far.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he opens up his game a little bit more.
Daniel Cates limps in from the small blind for 1,200. Mercier says run it. And it's blind versus blind, king high flop. Cates checks ace high, and it's up to Mercier.
Now, Jungle Man does have a backdoor flush draw and a backdoor straight draw here with ace high. Against a player like Jason, it's not unreasonable for him to continue.
And he calls the bet of 2,500.
Jason, of course, with top pair.
Turns the 8 of hearts. Daniel checks again. No reason for Jason to slow down, and he fires 7,300.
I mean, I think Jungle Man can't really do much here. His hand is just too weak to continue.
You know, I really think you're full of it here for a few reasons, but I have like one of the worst hands possible that I could have.
Queen 7 off?
No.
What's worse than Queen 7?
I don't even think he'd play Queen 7 like that.
Queen 7 might be the worst hand I could possibly have there.
I think Queen 9 probably is the worst hand he has there.
I didn't quite have the worst.
Okay, see. So you had ace 3.
I may have had something like that.
Good read, Jason.
Huh?
So you're supposed to raise.
I mean, I didn't want to really fold there, but it's like, you're actually not supposed to raise, well, unless you're playing like hardcore exploitatively with that kind of hand. Actually, I'm gonna stop talking.
Moment of self-awareness there.
Don't give too much away.
It doesn't really matter that much, but I'll just stop talking anyway.
Philip Gruissem is like the face of mischief, by the way. Every time you look at him, it just seems like he's trying to stir the pot.
Yeah, Philip kind of lives in his own world there. I don't think he's necessarily trying to antagonize. He just kind of says what's on his mind.
Similar to Daniel Cates, but different delivery.
Yeah, exactly.
Raise.
Pocket 10s for Gruissem. He makes it 5,000 to go.
They both lack a filter, but I think it's for different reasons.
Antonio, meanwhile, with 10-3 suited, lacks a fold button as he 3-bets it to 11,200. Seidel folds over to Kanesh. He'll likely do the same with king 4 off.
There's a very small 3-bet from Antonio. I think the main reason for that is just because Philip doesn't have that many chips to start this hand, just about 26 big blinds.
Gross mucks king 7 off, and it'll be back over to Philip. Well, he could have just called, but instead he's 4-betting to 23,000.
Yeah, I don't think calling is really an option. His hand is just too strong given his stack. I think most players with 26 big blinds wouldn't really consider 4-betting just because there's not really enough room to 4-bet and fold, so they would just move in with most of their hands. Philip electing to 4-bet just in case Antonio makes a mistake and decides to try to bluff in a spot like this, though I don't think he would ever really do that.
At this point, Antonio pulls the ripcord, and his woes continue. Those were self-inflicted, though.
Yeah, I don't really mind that spot there. Philip's going to open relatively wide and is not going to commit with that many hands. I just am not a huge fan of the choice that Antonio picked 10-3 suited with. I'd rather a hand with an ace in it or something like that.
Well, the long and rough outing continues for Antonio, the only player on 2 bullets. Alpha 8 is brought to you by ClubWPT.com. Fun, exciting poker you can play for free.
I'm joined by poker legend Dan Harrington.
And here's to the champion of the Legends of Poker, Dan Harrington.
Dan, you're not playing yourself. What's that? What brought you to Joburg?
Well, Eric gave me a call before the tournament and said, you feel like going to South Africa? And I said, yeah, I do, as a matter of fact. That was on my bucket list to do that place.
How much has the game changed?
Well, first of all, there are a lot more good players now than there was 20 or 30 years ago. And as a consequence, back then you could play slow in a tournament, take take your time, not take too many chances. Now, in order to win one of these events, you have to take calculated risks all the time, and you have to vary your play quite a bit because these young players, they're really sharp.
Think about the Germans and Philip Gruissem.
The Germans have done awesome the last couple of years. I mean, they're the ones to beat on the circuit. As a matter of fact, Eric said, well, I think the younger players just look at me and just say, oh, this is something juicy. The only trouble is he teaches them it's not as easy as it appears.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us, Dan, and let's get back to the action.
I don't think I qualify as one of the young players, but I have to say, I think everybody on tour respects Eric a lot. I think he's had more than enough success to, you know, earn himself the respect of all of his younger peers.
Well, he's currently sitting on a stack of 25,500, and it's going to take a few double ups, perhaps, for him to get back into a comfortable position.
Yeah, like Phil Ivey, Eric doesn't seem to have been able to get much going at this table. He hasn't really had a lot of good hands.
King-Queen offsuit, certainly a good enough hand, and Antonio makes it 5,500 to go. More folding from Seidel. Kanesh folds, and Jeff Gross looks down at 2 black 6s, while Daniel Cates apparently enjoying a fairly deep tissue workout. It's making me uncomfortable how much he's enjoying it. As we see Gross call to 5,500. Cates folds, and Mercier has pocket 7s, and he'll defend from the big blind.
As we can see, Jeff Gross only a 1% chance to win this hand. That's because the other 2 6s have already been folded.
And the flop, all hearts 10 high. Mercier currently has the best hand, checks it.
Antonio, though, with the best chance of winning the pot, and that's because his 2 overs, gut shot, straight draw, and flush draw, enough to give him slightly better than 50% chance to win the hand. He does take a shot here, betting 8,500.
Jeff Gross stalling the action here, but tough to imagine him doing anything but folding.
Yeah, not a good flop for 2 black 6s, obviously, and not really a great flop for Jason either. I personally don't think this hand is worth a call from Jason.
Well, he seems to disagree, however, as he plunks 8,500 into the middle and will take a turn card, which is the 8 of clubs.
Yeah, the problem for Jason is just that there are very, very few, if any, real non-7 cards that he wants to see on the turn. The 8 of clubs is actually one of the best cards that he can hope for, giving him an open-ended straight draw to go along with his pair.
And of course, he does have the flush draw, though a heart isn't something he's necessarily pulling for. Mercier has checked it over to Antonio.
17-3.
Who bet 17-3, and then Jason insta-folds.
Yeah, I think Jason was willing to just put in 1 bet and fold to any further aggression. I just think on that board, when there's so little that can improve your hand, it's especially against a player as tough and as aggressive as Antonio, out of position, I personally would have just preferred a fold there from 2 7s. But you got to give Antonio credit. He just had king high there, though he had a lot of equity. A lot of players might have just checked on the turn, trying to realize that equity on the river, but Antonio bet knowing that his opponent would be in a tough spot without a strong hand.
Yeah, Antonio certainly not showing signs of being bashful, even though he's on his second bullet. The only player to re-enter this event. Now it's folded to the ace-jack offsuit of Kanesh Pather.
Easy open here for the amateur.
5,500.
Makes it 5,500 to go. Action's on Gross.
14.
Jeff Gross folds, and look at this. Daniel Cates 3-bets with Jack 6 suited to 14,000.
This is an interesting play here from Jungle Man. I think there's kind of 2 competing ideas at work. One is that Pather has been a relatively tight and solid player, so that means that his opening range, the hands that he's racing with, tend to be pretty strong. On the flip side, though, because of his tight play and overall relatively passive play, it seems that Jungle Man has decided he doesn't think Pather will play back at him without an absolutely premium hand, a hand like, let's say, ace-king or, you know, a big pair. So he thinks that though Pather's not raising with too many hands, he'll still, out of position, fold most of his hands, and he's right as Pather folds the dominating ace-jack here. Nice play from Jungle Man, really knowing his opponents and executing the play.
The other players thought I was kind of wild and a little crazy. And also it's very hairy, so they called me Jungle Man because they thought it was funny.
When you have Jungle Man at the table, you just got to get him talking because he's the greatest of all time.
He's literally like one of the most interesting people I've ever met. So we just love, you know, bantering with him and hearing what's going to come out of his mouth because you never know.
I mean, I imagine I can hold my own against a couple wild animals, but the jungle's a pretty dangerous place.
We asked Nico what he would eat if he was stuck out here.
We're gonna have some termite to eat.
A termite?
It's a termite. They're tiny things, and not that bad. Come on, there's 2, 3 of them.
Wait, Eric's eating! How does it taste? Like nothing?
I swear it's in there. You want to bet?
Come on.
Tastes like by the way. Really? You can taste it?
Come
I
on.
tasted it.
Antonio, do I get man's status?
Yeah, you get manly.
I feel more manly, Nico.
Now that's where Nico's dead wrong. You clearly want to go after ostrich meat if you ever get stranded out there. That's the good eats.
I'm not sure ostrich meat is as easy to find as termites.
Wait, we weren't talking about ease. We were just talking about the good stuff here.
I mean, I think the point was, if you're in
Taking
a
a look at the chip counts, we can see that Daniel Cates is currently still over 300,000. Sitting very pretty. Not sitting pretty, Eric Seidel with just shy of 20,000. Philip Gruissem with 87.3, the only player with less than his original 100,000 other than Seidel.
No, but
Actions on Jason.
manipulation, actually. Yeah.
Mercier mucks. Philip Gruissem
Raise.
makes it 5,000 to go with 8-9 suited. Folded to Kanesh, the local from right here in South Africa, with ace-jack offsuit.
I'd like to see a 3-bet here from Kanesh.
Ask and you shall receive, my friend, 13,000 total.
Nice play, taking ace-jack and playing it aggressively here against Philip Gruissem's relatively wide opening range.
Folded back around to Philip.
Now, Philip is not one to let go of too many hands. Does have a suited connector in position, though he's not relatively deep, still decides to see a flop. The 3-bet was relatively small, only 13,000.
And that flop, 2 queens, and more importantly for Philip's hand, 2 spades. Action on Kanesh, who checks it. Now Gruissem with control of the pot. Bit of a suspicious check there from Kanesh.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on who's doing the checking. You know, we've seen similar flops like this where pros had pocket pairs and then checked, but when an amateur does it, I think it's going to be a little bit weaker on average than when a pro does it.
And Philip is going to fire 13,500 with his flush draw.
And I like this play from Philip, obviously just 9 high, but he did pick up equity with the flush draw, and Pather showed weakness by just checking on the flop.
Is Philip announcing that he's willing to go all in by making this bet? So if for some reason Pather moved all in, would he have to call?
No, not necessarily. I think Philip would actually fold here if Pather moved in.
Well, instead, Pather just calling, of course, with ace high. Not looking to make a hero play. Although that's still not the greatest line to take.
No, I don't really like check calling here with ace-jack, but he does pick up some equity himself on the turn as he now has a gut shot straight draw.
And he's checked it a second time over to Philip, who also picked up a gut shot straight draw on the turn.
Yeah, I think when Philip picks up equity here, I wouldn't mind seeing another bet. The only problem is, though, that his chip stack would kind of commit him to the pot if he made any side of decent-sized bet on the turn.
The bigger problem is that a king just hit the river, and Kanesh has Broadway.
Yeah, really a dream run out for Pather here as he makes runner. He doesn't know it, but the best play obviously would be to check and see if Gruissem takes a shot at the pot. Philip with just 9 high here, not too much he can do.
Kanesh bets 18,000. And Gruissem gets away, though I would have loved to see a blank to peel off on the river and wonder what Philip would have done if Kanesh checked a third time.
Yeah, knowing Gruissem, I wouldn't be surprised if he took a shot there. He's not one to give away chips in a spot where he has no chance to win. A nice little run out for Pather, wins a nice pot, and Philip chips down, gets near that 25 big blind area. Players start thinking about moving in with their hands.
Folded around to Antonio, who's wishing he was at a blackjack table. Lays down the 8-3. Seidel just can't get anything going either. Lays down Jack 9, and it's over to Kanesh, who's upgraded. 2 aces now.
And on the button, no less. Great spot for the amateur.
Well, not just because you're guaranteed to have position regardless of the action in front of you, but because when everyone folds to you, it looks so bluffy, so steelish.
Yeah, people definitely open their ranges a little bit on the button.
He raised it to 5,500, Gross folded, and now Cates with 2 9s in the big blind.
Real hand here from Jungle Man as he 3-bets Pather's button open. It's a relatively decent size 3-bet here to 16,000.
Any chance we see a smooth call here? Maybe a bit more deception?
Yeah, I think it's definitely, you know, in position here with, you know, you're insured that it's just a heads-up pot. I wouldn't mind just a call here from Pather. But at the same time, you know, if Jungle Man does have a good hand, you don't want to lose him if a bad flop comes down. So you want to try to get all the chips in now with pocket aces.
Yeah, chips that might not hit the middle if a flop peels off.
Now, the problem for Pather, though, is that because of the way he's been playing, pretty solid, very conservative play, his opponents are not going to think that he's bluffing very often in a spot like this. He's really going to be given a lot of credit here. And as we see, Jungle Man does make a very good, very disciplined fold with 2 9s there.
Oh, and look at this. Pather's giving him the positive reinforcement. Free look at the aces.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this show. You see this pretty often in poker tournaments where less experienced and amateur players tend to show their strong hands to the pros, kind of a way of saying, hey, look, I'm not messing around, I really had the goods. But I think it's really the opposite. You want to make sure that the pros are kind of second-guessing themselves and unsure of what your hands are. If you confirm to them that you have the goods when you make strong plays, it's much easier for them to play.
And I don't think that Pather had any need to assert that he had a tight table image. He had already earned that reputation based on the play thus far.
Right, and I think even very bluffy players are going to have good hands from time to time, so showing your good hands just really never accomplishes very much.
Speaking of accomplishing very much, Antonio is really trying here with 10-9 offsuit. He's raised it to 5,100.
And for the 3rd consecutive hand, Pather has been dealt a very strong starting hand, this time ace-king suited.
Yeah, he's playing with the premium cut of the deck.
Antonio a little out of line here, opening the pot with 9-10 off. Not going to like it when the amateur 3-bets him like he does here to 15-5.
Folded back around to Antonio, and that's not what he wanted to see.
And again, if Pather hadn't shown his pocket aces before, the players might have been second-guessing whether he's kind of turning up another gear, starting to add some bluffs to his range.
Pather gives him a look.
And again, he shows another monster hand. I think he should keep that information to himself, give that sense of mystery, make the players second-guess themselves.
Come on, Kanesh. Any good businessman knows you've got to charge for information.
Don't just watch poker, play poker. Play all the poker you want for free, only at clubwpt.com. So it's bright and early in the morning. This is our 2nd drive, and we've been spoilt with a rare treat.
You can actually see the animal they killed, and they're all eating, and they're all fat, and they're all napping. That's what we should do. We should eat, nap, wake up, we're hungry, and go eat again.
Pretty simple life.
Feels right. I think the lines figured it out.
Ooh, that lioness looked like she was ready for a little human dessert snack there at the end.
I wouldn't want to be that one.
Little known fact, poker players are actually highly nutritious.
I think that's been more of a recent trend. I don't think that was true 5-10 years ago. Maybe Antonio should move to Spain. I hear that's the lifestyle that's going on there.
Easy on the Spaniards. And back from a bit of a break, players have taken the opportunity to freshen up a bit. Let's take a look at the chip counts. Daniel Cates coasting with over 300,000. In 2nd is Kanesh Pather, the local entrepreneur. As we see Kanesh looking at Queen-Jack offsuit. And he is going to raise it to 6,500. Blinds are at 1,500 and 3,000 now with a 500 ante.
Queen-Jack offsuit, we see Kanesh maybe opening his range just a little bit, recognizing that as the table shrinks in terms of the players there, that you have to play slightly more hands.
King-6 suited for Antonio.
More than good enough to defend the big blind.
And that's exactly what he does for an extra 3,500. Heads up. to a flop. Oh boy.
Obviously a big flop for both players. Pather flopping top 2 pair and Antonio with an overcard and the king-high flush draw.
He's checked it over to Kanesh, who's betting 7,500.
Now we've seen Pather in the past make slightly smaller than, I would say, standard bets post-flop. This is actually a little bit bigger, at least, than his pre-flop raise size. I think Antonio should pick something up from that, especially since he's an amateur and probably his continuation bet frequency will be lower than most players. I would be more likely to just check and call with this draw rather than be willing to check raise.
Well, Antonio has check raised. 22,500 is the number.
I think at this point, with Antonio check raises with this much equity, and
I'm all in.
And Pather is putting Antonio all in. Esfandiari makes the call and gets a look at top 2 pair.
I think Antonio could have considered folding, but it seemed obvious that once he decided to check raise, he had already decided to be willing to commit his chips if Pather did move in.
Well, Esfandiari, worse than 2-to-1 dog here.
Yeah, Antonio much would have preferred Pather to have a hand like ace-queen, obviously, where his king would be live. Now, he's really just looking for a heart.
4 of clubs on the turn, no help. Here comes the river. Can the man who has invested 200K stay alive? He cannot. Right color in the wrong suit. And the amateur, Kanesh Pather, has eliminated the all-time winningest tournament player in poker history, Antonio Esfandiari, who heads down to have a disappointed chat with Lynn.
Oh, Antonio, the second bullet didn't pull through.
Nope.
Now all your chips went to Kanesh. How do you think he's playing?
I think he's playing good, and he's a local, so you got to root for the local guy.
Exactly, home ground advantage.
Yeah.
All right, well, great to see you play. Thanks so much for chatting to us. Thank you.
Lynn with the double thank you. As we're down to 6 players now. Button is on Kanesh. Gross and Kate's in the blinds. Jason Mercier first to act, and he's got 16 the hard way. Makes it 6,000 to go. And it's 2 6s for Kanesh. Now Pather is up to over 300,000 in his stack, courtesy of that last pot. He's just gonna call. And now Jeff Gross takes a peek at king-queen suited.
Nice looking starting hand for Jeff Gross here. I think most players would just call here with king-queen suited. It's a hand that plays pretty well post-flop. Obviously makes some strong 1-pair hands and can make even a flush and a straight. I think the standard play is just to call.
24.
And Gross electing to 3-bet it from the small blind to a total of 24,000.
Jason folds 2 8s. That is really just an understanding of the particular player involved. I don't think Jason would have folded there to most of the other players, but Jeff, seen as a more conservative, more solid player, when he 3-bets like this, Jason feels like Jeff probably has a hand like ace-king or maybe a bigger pocket pair, but Jason's just not in good shape against that range.
What's up, buddy?
Quite a raise, though.
Feels standard.
Pretty standard. Full bit.
Yeah, I don't think Pather really can do much or can necessarily glean much from a conversation with Jeff here.
I'll lay my pair down.
Finish fold. Jeff will win the ball.
Jeff has just made a nice-sized raise, especially considering the amount of chips he has in total, and there's just not much Pather can do.
Well-executed move pays off for Jeff Gross.
Yeah, a nice play there from Jeff, using his tight image to his advantage to get both players to fold the better hands.
And it's important to be aware of how you're being perceived at the table, not just your pre-existing reputation, but in this particular match.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's definitely true. And also, it's important to understand the other players that you're playing against. Jason, I think, is the type of player who doesn't want to take those types of marginal situations because he's so confident in his ability to chip up in small ways, winning smaller pots. He doesn't want to kind of, you know, be in a flip situation for a big pot. Someone like Philip Gruissem, on the other hand, I don't think he would have folded 2 8s, even though he's able to recognize the same player-specific dynamic with Jeff there.
Picking up the action, it was folded around to Philip Gruissem on the button, who had queen-6 offsuit. He's raised it to 6,000, and Eric Seidel looks at an ace and moves all in for 19 total.
I have a great hand, Eric.
You have a great hand.
It's gonna get ugly for you. Sorry.
I only looked at one card.
What's got the 9, 10,
Oh, I'm live.
Well, Philip has made the call. And he's already apologizing. He's going to need to improve to warrant that apology, though. Can he take the lead on the flop? He cannot. Seidel makes a pair of sevens, stays in control. Better than 4-1 favorite at this point, and the turn is a 3. Gruissem picks up some extra outs. He can hit a 5 or a queen. Anything else, and Seidel doubles up. It's a king. And the Poker Hall of Famer, Erik Seidel, lives to play another hand.
Our two-time Alpha 8 champion, Philip Gruissem, takes a big hit to his stack.
I'm not sure we've seen Philip Gruissem in this sort of situation in an Alpha 8 event. He is incredibly short-stacked at this point.
In London he was pretty short. He just happened to double up a couple times, and ultimately it worked out.
Well, it's time to pull another London rabbit out of his magic hat. More Alpha 8 when we return to Joburg.
Poker's changed my life in a number of ways, mostly because I'm able to go where I want to go, do what I want to do.
Well, I'm standing here and I'm doing a TV interview.
It just changed my personality so much to have the freedom to try everything I want, and I'm really thankful for that.
Olivier, do you remember a specific moment where it dawned on you that this poker thing might work out and how that changed your life?
For me, I think it was more gradual, but I agree with the overall sentiment. I think the biggest advantage to playing poker for a living is the lifestyle, is the freedom that it brings you. You don't have a boss, you don't have an alarm clock, you can pick and choose when you want to play, which events you want to play, which cities you want to visit. And so I think that's really the main advantage to choosing this life.
But there are fewer jobs in the world where you can wake up, go to work, and lose $200,000.
It's definitely very risky, I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Speaking of money, first place will be taking down $500,000. Second, good for $275. Third, good for $200. And we've got a little added bonus, not to mention the Alpha 8 trophy, which you always win when you take down one of these events. You also are going to take home a pair of those lovely headphones, the Monster 24K editions. Jason Mercier folds. Now to Philip Gruissem, who's got ace-3 offsuit and moves all in. Less than 10 big blinds total. Quick fold from Seidel with ace-deuce. Now to Kanesh on the button. He has jack-5 offsuit.
Not exactly sure what Pather's thinking here with jack-5.
The last chips are very tough to get, guys. I'll tell you that.
Gruissem discouraging a call here.
Yeah, jack-5 is pretty easy fold here. King-10 is actually an interesting spot. I think it's probably pretty close, whether you want to call or fold.
How much is that?
Gross is asking for a count.
Is that like Phil Hellmuth? Like his last chips are pretty hard to get too.
Yeah, they're harder to get actually.
And Gross knows it's right on the edge of being appropriate to call or fold. And he settles ultimately on a call. Kate's out of the way.
No, this is a personal reason call.
Is it really?
I don't know. No, I'm just kidding, but what do you got? I call you.
Wow, really? That's probably what you wanted to see.
Did this for my buddies in Houston. This is their favorite. King 10, they call it the taxi.
Jeff with the old personal reasons call.
Yeah, thought it could be good too, but.
Ace.
Here comes the flop. It's got a 3 in it. Philip's still in the lead. He's hoping to dodge a king or a 10.
Call pre-flop.
So far, so good on the turn, but
I look like a 10.
Gross picks up some extra outs. He can now hit an 8 for a straight, or the king or the 10. Anything else, and Philip doubles up. Oh, it's a 10 on the end. And Philip Gruissem unceremoniously dispatched by Jeff Gross with an ugly river card, and Gruissem in somewhat unfamiliar territory alongside Lynn.
Well, Phil, I guess the last chips aren't really the hardest to get, huh?
Yeah, usually they are, but this time Jeff got me, so I'm a little bit sad.
You had a little bit of a sweat on the way out there. At least it wasn't too instant, I guess. Do you enjoy the sweat? No. Oh, well, you can't win them all. I guess that term definitely applies to you. 2-time champ already. You were going for your 3rd. You're a superstar here on Alpha 8. It is sad to see you go, though.
They wouldn't have respected me in Houston if I didn't call.
Well, the boys in Houston are going to be happy.
I think the rest of the players at the table are pretty happy too, as 2-time champ Philip Gruissem has ultimately been dispatched here, and we're now 5-handed.
Getting closer and closer to the money. Two-time A8 champ Philip Gruissem reveals his secret to success while out on a South African safari. Log on to clubwpt.com/alpha8 and catch our exclusive interview with Philip on the A8 Clip of the Week. Clubwpt.com, the home of fun, exciting poker you can play for free. Welcome back to beautiful South Africa and the lovely Emperor's Palace Hotel and Casino here in Johannesburg. 5 players remain in the hunt for that $500,000 first place prize. And here's how they stack up. Daniel Cates in the commanding chip lead where he's been most of the match, followed by Kanesh, Jason, Jeff Gross, and then a distant short stack belonging to Eric Seidel, 43,500 in front of him. A couple of folds around to Jason Mercier, who's on the button with 5-6 suited.
Nice looking hand. Jason deciding to just limp in here on the button. This is a play that a lot of top players have started to employ in the last year or two, wanting to ensure that they see a flop with a hand that can make a lot of strong post-flop hands, a hand like 6-5 suited.
Seidel calls from the small blind. Kanesh says run it. 3 players will take the flop, which is 10-7-4, top pair for Eric. Open-ended straight draw for Jason. Seidel checking. Kanesh does the same. And Jason closes the action with a check as well and gets there on the turn.
A little bit of a surprising check by Jason. I think the main reason he does it is because of Eric's chip stack. He doesn't want to put chips in and have Eric raise or move in and then have to fold his equity or have to gamble to try to make his straight. Instead, he takes a free card and gets there. Great
Eric.
Spot for him now as Eric leads with top pair.
6,000 is the number. Kanesh folds. And Jason is going to give Eric some rope. Just calls the 6,000. No flush draw to worry about on board. And that is actually not a great card for Jason as far as getting Eric to commit chips is concerned. You see it's an ace, and now Eric slows down.
Well, it's a little bit of a fake scare card. There aren't too many hands in Jason's range that have aces in them. Maybe a hand like ace-deuce suited or ace-5 suited. But if Jason had a big ace, I think it's more likely he would have raised pre-flop to try to get Eric to commit his chips.
And Jason bets 19,000. You see Dan Harrington, the legendary poker player, hanging out in the background. He's Eric Seidel's travel companion on this trip.
I think the problem for Eric here is, well, obviously his chip stack. Jason's bet 19,000. It's a big bet and represents a lot of Eric's chips. But he's trying to put Jason on a hand. There aren't too many draws that Jason could have. There aren't too many worst hands that Jason would be betting here. So it's just tough for Eric to try to figure out what Jason has. And he does see that Jason turned to straight. And now Eric's going to be very short stacked.
Jack 8, Jack 9, 8, 9, something in that range. Might have been the only bluff catchers. And unfortunately, Seidel paying off. Very well executed play by Jason Mercier. And Eric is in just terrible shape. He's got only 15,000 left.
Yeah, with 5 big blinds, Eric going to be looking for any playable hand to move the rest of his chips in and hope to double up.
Jungle Man with 20 miles makes it 6,000 to go. Oh, 2 7s for Eric will earn the rest of his stack. He moves all in.
That's a lot. Probably not worth it, Jungle Man.
Eric trying to dissuade Daniel from a call. We know that's never happening with any 2 cards that Daniel opened with. But it just so happens that he's got Eric torched. Timing couldn't have been worse for Seidel.
Pairs. See, the 80-20s.
Here comes the flop. Eric looking for a 7. Oh, he's on either side of it. 8-6 deuce.
It's the right neighborhood.
This hand a little emblematic of how the entire tournament has gone for Eric, just not able to put anything together.
Looking for a couple of runners to a straight. Instead, the board pairs on the turn, and now he's got 2 outs. And that's not one of them.
Nice play with game, Eric. And guys, Jungle, good luck.
Thank you.
Eric Seidel, the man with over $20 million in live tournament earnings, says goodbye. But on the upside, he gets to chat with Lynn Gilmartin.
Well, Eric, how do you feel today went for you?
Not very well. Here I am on the rail. But that's the way it goes. It was an incredibly tough table.
Have you got any picks for who's going to win?
Well, I'm really impressed with Kanesh. You would expect that somebody from here who, doesn't have the experience that we all have playing with each other and playing under these conditions wouldn't be as composed and play as well as he does, but I thought he played terrific.
How are you seeing Jason? How's his performance today?
Well, Jason's a top tournament player. He's been in this situation so many times, and that helps a lot.
Sure does. And Jungle Man came in as chip leader. He's doing pretty well. What do you think?
Jungle Man, look, he's a great player, and he's more unpredictable, I think, than some of the other guys.
And of course, PBF, Jeff Gross.
PBF is a good player, but I don't think anybody would be surprised to see him win.
So we are officially on the money bubble, Olivier, and it's shaping up to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think one of the things that separates this money bubble from some of the previous ones we've had is how deep everyone is. The shortest stack here has still over 50 big blinds, so there's a lot of play, and a lot of things could change before we actually get into the money.
And that's just how we like it here.
With so much on the line, make sure to join us next time to see who wins WPT Alpha 8 Johannesburg. For Ali Najad and Olivier Bousquet, I'm Lynn Gilmartin, saying goodnight from South Africa. It's survival of the fittest in South Africa here at our star-studded final table. Tonight, we crown a champion. This is WPT Alpha 8.
I'm playing against these guys that I've played against so many times, and we have a lot of history.
You see these guys all the time on TV, you read about them, and it's awesome playing with them.
It's kind of like, friends playing against friends, even though, not to say that we're all like great friends exactly.
We sign up and we realize someone's gonna bubble, someone's gonna win, and we know what we're in for.
Welcome back to the Vegas of Africa, Johannesburg's Emperor's Palace Hotel and Casino. $100,000 was the price to take a seat in our super high roller poker tournament. And tonight the cards will determine, along with a lot of skill, just how much our players will take home. I'm Lynn Gilmartin, joined by A8 commentators Ali Najad and Olivier Bousquet, who are ready to take us on this journey to crown a champion. They're over in the clubwpt.com skybox. Fellas, over to you.
Hey there, Lynn. Now, you mentioned a lot of skill, and to be honest, I think that's putting it lightly when you stare out at these faces, one of whom is definitely unfamiliar to most, the local amateur Kanesh Pather, and he's the first player in Alpha 8 history to be recreational and in a position to potentially cash.
Yeah, Pather's really impressed me with both his play and his composure. At this table with such tough competition, you'd expect someone with less experience maybe to play a little bit wild or to just constantly fold all of his hands. I think he's found, the right balance, overall conservative style. And if he can get into the money here, I think he's got a definite shot at winning the entire thing.
Wow, that is a real vote of confidence, particularly for an amateur player. Let's talk about the pros, though. 3 of them here.
Yeah, so there are 3 very tough pros in Pather's way. Jeff Gross, consistent Alpha 8 competitor. I think he's played really well. Jason Mercier, obviously one of the best tournament players in the world. I think he's got a great chance at taking this title. And of course, Jungle Man Dan Cates, the heads-up online cash game specialist, and obviously as the chip leader, he's got a really great position to add pressure to these players and hopefully put himself in a good position to win.
Yeah, he'll be adding more pressure than he'll be feeling, despite being just 24 years of age, a wealth of online experience for Dan Cates. Let's look at the prize pool. $500,000 going to first place. Second, good for $275. Third, good for $200. And Olivier, what's fourth win?
Unfortunately, fourth will go home with no money, the dreaded bubble boy spot.
Big old donut hole. Blinds are at 2 and 4,000. Antes are at 500. Dan Cates, we mentioned, is the chip leader, 324,000 in front of him, followed by Gross, Mercier, and Pather in that order, all of whom are within 40 and change of one another.
Yeah, and all of whom have more than 50 big blinds. This could be a lot of play here as we try to figure out who will cash and who will go home without any money.
Button starts on Jeff Gross. Kanesh and Jason in the blinds. Cates looks down at 10-5 offsuit, and he'll make the easy fold. Over to Jeff Gross now on the button with Jack-5 offsuit. Always tempting when you're on the button to just attack those blinds, but Gross resists the temptation. Over to Kanesh, who looks down at ace-8 suited.
Nice looking hand in the small blind. Small blind always a tricky position to play because you're out of position against the big blind throughout the entire hand. And obviously Jason, a very tough big blind to play against.
Kanesh electing to simply limp in, and Mercier gonna raise it to 13,000 with 10-9 off.
I'm actually not really a big fan of this play. I think, first of all, Pather is playing a relatively narrow range of hands, so when he limps in, it's actually a sign that he does have a playable hand. And then also, Jason is so good post-flop, 10-9 plays relatively well. He should be happy to check and see a flop.
Ace-6 jack.
I think part of the reason Jason raised there is because on a flop like this with big cards, Jason should be given credit for big cards since he raised pre, and on medium-sized cards, obviously, 10-9 would play well.
And Kanesh has checked it over to Mercier, who's firing 12,500 with air. Pather makes the call.
Yeah, Jason taking a shot at the pot with very little equity here.
Turn card is a king. Pather checks again.
So now Jason turns a gut shot straight draw. It looks like he barrels again. 28,000 this time. I don't mind this bet as Jason turns equity, and the king is a little bit of a scare card. If Pather did have, let's say, a pair of sixes or a pair of jacks, he obviously would not want to see another card higher.
Especially because he's giving Jason credit for that end of the deck.
Right, now obviously Pather does have an ace, so unlikely to fold to 2 bets. The real question would be what the river is and whether Jason decides to take another shot.
Yeah, Pather calls the 28,000, and he's got to love that river card. Totally disjointed, no relation to the board whatsoever. Kanesh with a third check, and now what do you do?
Well, I mean, I think if you were playing against another professional, you might be willing to bet, but Jason just going to give up against the amateur. Not sure he can get him off of one pair. I think you got to give Pather credit here. You know, a lot of amateurs might have raised when they had a strong hand like ace-8 in the small blind, but Pather deciding to play a little bit more cautious, and in that way, actually disguising his hand against Jason, getting Jason to put a bunch of chips in the pot with very little chance of winning after Pather flopped a pair of aces.
To be fair, when Pather limps in and cedes control of the action to Jason, who was able to put in that raise, more often than not, he's not going to connect with the flop, and you wonder what he does when he doesn't hit an ace or an 8 or any sort of draw.
Honestly, I would have played the hand ace-8 suited the same exact way Pather did.
Well, that's a big compliment, as we see Mercier limping in with king-jack suited.
So Mercier, king-jack suited, can make a number of strong hands, so Jason wanting to ensure that he sees the flop, doesn't get pushed off of the hand.
Well, Cates has called from the button with 8-6 offsuit.
A little bit of a strange play from Jungle Man. 8-6 offsuit, obviously much less than premium hand. Jungle Man in position throughout the hand. Maybe we'll see if he has a plan for this hand.
Yeah, Kanesh says run it from the big blind with pocket sixes, and it's ace, king, deuce. Mercier flops the best hand. 2 overcards to Kanesh's sixes. He checks it.
Just a dominating position for Jason here. No real hand for either of the other players.
But a super small flop bet with 16K in the middle. Mercier fires 4,000, and Cates is gonna float with 8 high.
This is a very surprising call from Jungle Man with no draw, no chance of making any hand at all.
Pather calls as well, and the board pairs on the turn. Well, 2 checks in front of Daniel on the turn here, and it's his opportunity to execute what no doubt was his game plan.
Jungle Man now firing 20,000, obviously a much bigger bet. Pretty easy fold for Pather. The real question is, what does Jason do?
Wow, quick fold, giving automatic credit for the ace to Daniel.
Yeah, part of the reason that Jason finds it tough to continue with his king there is that if Jungle did have an ace, it's impossible for Jason to beat him. If he hits a king or a jack, he would still lose. So Jason electing to just play it more conservatively and let the hand go. Little did he know, Jungle just had 8 high.
That's a guilty look there, Jungle.
And Gross smells something fishy.
No comment.
No comment.
And that's one of those situations where poker is a little bit more like chess. You're thinking moves ahead. A7 offsuit for Jason, and this time he's gonna raise it. Makes it 8,000 to go.
So this is a very different looking hand. It's much less flop friendly, as I like to call it. Can't make any straights or flushes, but does have an ace, so strong enough to play, but Jason decides to raise with it, try to win it pre-flop instead of limping in and seeing a flop.
Ace-3 suited for Jeff Gross in the small blind. He'll make the call.
A little bit of a weak hand for Jeff, but we are, of course, four-handed, so you have to widen your ranges.
And you don't really want to 3-bet with a hand like that, do you?
I actually wouldn't mind 3-betting with this hand. I think especially Jeff's going to get a lot of credit from Jason, so he's not going to get a lot of action. But I think calling is acceptable.
Well, they're heads up, heading to the flop after a fold from Kanesh. And that flop is King Jack 9, swing and a miss for both players.
Yeah, normally this hand will just go check, and Jason will take a shot, and Jeff not really able to do much with his hand. But instead, Jeff leading out, and Jason instantly folding. A little bit of a strange lead for Jeff without any pair or draw. A little bit lucky that Jason had flopped nothing and couldn't continue, but give Jeff credit, maybe taking advantage of his tight image and his willingness to try to steal the pot.
Yeah, so now we're on the bubble, which is always in poker the most fun, and this is unique where you have a 6-figure bubble. It's exciting, and Jason and Jungleman are seasoned vets. You know, they play for huge money tournaments, cash games, so I think they'll be very comfortable. I'm interested to see how our South African player does, and I think poker will go on as usual, but there's always a dynamic with the bubble.
So one of the interesting dynamics on this bubble is that, you know, normally when you think about amateurs on the money bubble in poker tournaments, they tend to play more conservatively, much tighter, really trying to get into the money. But the amateurs that play these big buy-in events tend to be very successful, wealthy businessmen, so they're not really playing as much for the money as they are for the thrill of the competition. So a lot of these high-rolling businessmen tend to be less conservative than some of the other amateurs you see on the money bubbles of poker tournaments.
Daniel Cates has min-raised on the button to 10,000. Blinds have gone up to 2,500 and 5K. Annie at 500.
Now Jungle with his chip lead, trying to exert some pressure with a less than premium Queen 4 offsuit.
Yeah, Gross folded King 7 suited, and now Kanesh with 6-7 offsuit will defend for an extra 5K.
Now again, from the big blind, easy to defend a wide range, getting a very good price and capping the action as there's no one after you.
Look at this flop. Pather doing backflips inside. He's got the 10 high straight and checks it over to Daniel, who's got just queen high and a gut shot.
This is a particularly good spot for Pather as he flops a big hand. Jungle capable of firing multiple barrels without much of a hand.
First barrel, 11,000. And Kanesh makes the call. It's an 8 of clubs on the turn. Both players check.
Now this is a card that's much more likely to help Pather's range than Jungle, and I think that's why Jungle slows down, doesn't try to steal this pot on the turn.
River is a king, and now Pather reaches out and touches 20,000.
Jungleman seems to be thinking about the hands he could beat. I think part of the reason that he's thinking with such a terrible hand like just queen high is that he doesn't think Pather would value bet thinly here. He doesn't think Pather would even value bet a 10, definitely not a 9. It's unlikely that Pather has a king unless he had something like king jack or king 7. So it's possible that Pather has an 8 or a flop straight like he does, but again, it's hard to make those hands, so there's gonna happen pretty rarely.
Actually,
I think I could get it.
Let's do that.
Go for it.
Yeah. 6, 4, no. 7, 5, 7, 4.
Kate's trying to piece the puzzle together.
You don't think so?
Actually, it is really close.
I actually don't think this is close at all because I think he's overestimating Pather's frequency of bluffing.
I feel like...
What are you thinking?
I could be, you know...
What did you have, king?
No, I would have called with a king for sure.
You would. You want to see?
Yeah, I do want to see.
Oh, don't do it, no. Oh, and Kanesh giving his opponents a free look at his cards. We've seen him do this multiple times throughout this event.
I had a high card. I just thought you might have a busted draw or whatever.
And it's not just a free look. Each time his opponents have folded and he's shown them a better hand, so he's also confirming that they've made the correct play, adding to their already high level of confidence. It's just a bad recipe if you're trying to outthink and ultimately outplay these pros.
Alpha 8 is brought to you by ClubWPT.com. Fun, exciting poker you can play for free.
High-stakes poker has certainly found a home for itself here in South Africa.
This Alpha 8 event just takes it to another level. That final table would be the envy of any hotel, casino, resort anywhere in the world.
This is such an amazing complex you have here.
This resort, Emperor's Palace, within 15 minutes drive from here, you can be in a lion park, you can see giraffe, zebra, the big 5 rhinos, hippopotamus, you can see everything, you know.
Now, you've dabbled in a little poker yourself. How would you feel sitting up at that table?
So I think it's pretty nerve-wracking. I think the guys look very cool. They look like they're having a great time, and may the best man win.
It really astonishes me just how amazing some of these venues are. Just being able to play a poker tournament and then go on a safari in
15
the same,
minutes away.
Yeah, it's just, it's incredible, really.
You're like, deal me out. I'm going to go on a safari. I'll be right back. Picking up the action, Daniel Cates gets the party started by limping in with King-Jack offsuit, taking a page out of Mercier's book.
Not a huge fan of this play. I think a raised pre-flop would have been better. With this hand and him being the chip leader, able to put a lot of pressure on some of these more conservative players like Pather and Gross.
Both of whom have folded. Mercier says run it with 4-5 offsuit in the small blind, and the flop. Ace 7-3, two-way straight draw for Jason.
Yeah, pretty good flop for Jason. Jungle with just two big cards.
Both players check, and on the turn, Cates makes a pair of jacks. Mercier checking again. And with 19,000 in the middle, Daniel fires 7.
So I think Jason has to at least call here with his two-way straight draw.
19.
Oh, let's try raising. 19,000 total.
Very strong play here for Jason, both because we're on the money bubble and because Jason himself is the short stack, the one most in danger of being the bubble boy. Jungle not buying it, calling with just a pair of jacks.
And the river is a queen, 57,000 in the middle. Not much left in front of Jason Mercier, and it's gut check time. Will he give up or fire another barrel? And he's gonna fire 31,000, Olivier, and a quick fold from Cates.
I think Jungle Man had decided that if his hand didn't improve and Jason fired big on the river, he was willing to fold, so he didn't have too much to think about there. Really strong play from Jason. Part of his willingness and ability to do it was Jungle Man checking the flop, then betting small on the turn. Can't underestimate how gutsy that was, considering how close we are to the bubble.
Yeah, it's a $200,000 difference. Either you go home minus 100K or at least plus 100K, as here we see Jeff Gross raising it up with Jack 10 suited to 16,000. And now Kanesh Pather has pocket aces, and he's on the button.
Great spot, obviously, to have two aces in position throughout the rest of the hand. Pather decides to just call.
Ooh.
I don't mind this play by Pather. He's known as a more conservative player, and Jeff likely to fold most of his hands to Pather's 3-bet. Pather here ensures that he'll see a flop against Jeff with his big hand.
Both blinds out of the way, heads up to the flop, and this could be troublesome for Jeff Gross. He's hit a 10 with 2 9s on the board, 45,000 in the middle.
Jeff should be pretty confident he has the best hand here, and continuation bets, 14,000. Now this bet is not huge.
Pather just calls the 14,000.
I like that play in position, just calling.
Now, it's not that he's scared of Jeff potentially having a 9 there on the flop. It's just that he wants to give him some more rope.
He wants to keep the pot small. He knows he can still get 3 bets in because he's in position.
Oh, this is disaster for Kanesh's pocket aces.
And Jeff decides to check on the turn. I don't mind his check so much.
But disciplined check behind by Kanesh.
Yeah, well, now Kanesh is afraid that Jeff either has a 10 or a 9.
Now here comes the river. It's a king of diamonds.
Now I think Jeff needs to go for value here with his full house. Doesn't want Pather to check behind. The only problem for Jeff here is that there aren't too many hands that Pather could call with. If Pather had an under pocket pair, he would have been counterfeited and obviously can't call.
Well, Gross is going to try to milk Kanesh for another 30,000 here. To Kanesh's credit, he didn't just snap call. He's thinking about this.
Yeah, I think ultimately, especially with the bet sizing less than half the pot, Pather really has to call here with pocket aces.
10.
And Pather will pay off, understandably. Jeff Gross got very lucky there. And that'll give his stack a boost.
Ultimately, I think a well-played hand by both players. Obviously, a little bit unlucky for Pather to get his aces cracked, but not much he can do there.
Looking for high roller excitement without the high roller risk? Go to clubwpt.com now and play in our Alpha 8 high roller play chip tournaments and ring games for a chance to be crowned champion. Today, we've come out to Soweto and of course, we're visiting Mandela House.
It's very inspiring to walk through and to read some of the letters that were written to Nelson Mandela and his family. And he was in prison for 27 years. I'm 27 years old.
Wow.
So, I mean, I can't even imagine something like that.
No, a huge inspiration to the world.
Nelson Mandela, obviously a big part of the history and culture of this great nation of South Africa. Nice to see the players getting out and experiencing some of that, which of course they're able to do along the Alpha 8 tour. Picking up the action, Daniel Cates folds 10-5 offsuit over to Jeff Gross now. On the button with ace-6 off. He makes it 16,000 to go. Kanesh looks at 6-5 offsuit, lays it down. And now to Mercier, who's got king 10 and defends for an extra 10. Here comes the flop. King 10-6, top 2 for Jason, who checks it to Jeff, and Jeff has bottom pair and checks behind. And the turn is a king, giving Mercier a full house now. No checking this time. He bets 23,000.
So I think Jason might consider check raising on this card against some other opponents, but Jeff a little bit more passive. Jason trying to build a pot right here with the nuts.
His bet of 23,000 is called in relatively short order by Jeff, who wants to make sure Jason's not bluffing, and it's quads on the river for Mercier.
This is a card that looks like it's terrible for Jeff, but I actually don't think it's that hard for Jeff to fold here. And the main reason is because I just don't think Jason would bluff very often. Once Jeff checks the flop and calls the turn, it seems like he has something. And if he does have a 6 or a 10, he's now made a full house and is unlikely to fold it. So if I were Jeff here with just a 6, I think I would fold to this bet. If I had a 10 or better, then I would probably call.
67,000 is the number. And you can see Gross is uncomfortable here. Jeff makes the call.
Can't blame Jeff too much.
Oh, that's a little overkill. Nice hand.
You count that?
Wow, I thought it was a king or nothing, but I didn't know what you thought I had. I didn't think you'd think I had a call in him. Nice bet.
Thanks.
I think Jason would pretty confidently value bet a 10 as well there, so I think a king or nothing is a little too narrow of a range.
Action on Mercier now. He just picked up that healthy pot. Folds the king 7 offsuit. And Daniel Cates on the button with 9-5 off will just limp in.
It's a little bit of a strange play from Jungle Man. I think Dan tries to play as wide a range as possible, and instead of trying to bloat pots by raising pre-flop and then having to navigate with a pretty weak hand like 9-5 offsuit, he decides to just call, see a flop, and hoping that his opponents miss, can just pick up a lot of pots by small bets on the flop.
Yeah, he certainly favors himself against most everyone in the world post-flop.
Yeah,
Daniel, very sound.
Especially Gross in the small blind and Pather in the big blind is a great spot for Jungle Man to see a number of flops. And the only way to do that is if you play a relatively wide range of hands.
This flop, 2 queens and a 10. Kanesh checks king high, and Daniel, with a bluff of 8,000, gets the job done.
This is exactly what Jungle Man was looking for. Relatively dry flop, a small bet, able to win. Pather with just king high, not willing to continue there.
Cates making it look easy.
Jungle Man with half the chips now, after that hand. Something like that.
Jungle's a beast, dude.
Well, I was due. I mean, lost a few hundred Ks. When I first played tournaments, I thought I was I won like heaps that year, like 6 million or whatever.
Not too many 24-year-olds can boast $6 million in revenue in a single year.
And that was probably 3 years ago. He was probably 21 when he won $6 million online. An absolute phenom.
And I just lost 3 or 4 in a row. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Again, we see Jungle Man limping with 9-5 offsuit, this time from the small blind. He'll be out of position against Jeff Gross, who said run it with ace-jack offsuit.
Yeah, this limp makes more sense to me from the small blind, but this check from Jeff does not make sense to me. I think with ace-jack on the bubble, you got to just move it in.
And look at this, 6, 7, 8 on the flop. Daniel Cates has made a 9-high straight. He checks it, Jeff Gross checks behind him, and a king hits the turn.
Huge flop, obviously, for Jungle Man. Willing to check it, give Jeff a free card here. I don't think he's going to continue checking.
Yeah, he bets 8,000 into a pot of 20.
Not a big bet here.
And Gross is going to keep him honest.
Yeah, I don't like this call from Jeff. He has really no equity, just ace high here. He's disguised the strength of his hand pre-flop, but the board texture now is so bad for him, I would prefer to just see a fold on the turn.
And the texture just got worse. 4 on the river, puts 4 to a straight out there.
Jungle Man hoping that Gross now has a 5 for a worse straight. But of course, Jeff with just ace high, unlikely to be able to continue in this hand.
36,000 in the pot. Jungle has bet 27K. And Jeff is thinking about it.
Well, the 4 of spades does bring 3 spades out there, and Jeff with the ace of spades, I think, should consider at least making a move here, but he picks the more conservative option of just folding.
I definitely had that one.
What do you mean, had it? Had a good hand?
Kate's telling Gross he definitely had that one.
Pretty sick.
Really curious what Olivier Bousquet says about me. I've been playing him in sit and goes lately.
He's playing you, it's not a good sign.
Well, he plays everyone.
Okay. Well, then maybe not.
Well, shed some light. What are you saying about him, buddy?
Well, Jungle and I have been playing a lot, and very quickly he's transitioned from cash to sit and goes very well. He's become one of the toughest players that I play. He's really one of the brightest poker minds in the world. He's hit a number of strong hands, but I think he's played them really well, and that's part of the reason that he's got half the chips in play. And if this bubble continues, he could even increase that lead and put himself in a really great position to win the tournament outright.
We're going to take a break, and on that break, Olivier, you and I are going to talk about your game selection, my friend. Jungle Man,
gotta
really?
beat the best to be the best.
Welcome back to WPT Alpha 8 Johannesburg. Now we've got just 4 plays left, which means that we are on the money bubble. The next player to be eliminated will go home empty-handed, and from then on, these guys will receive a payday.
Still a few positions left between now and that payday, though, Lynn. Second worth 275, third worth 200, and fourth, of course, worth nothing. As you get a quick glance at the chip counts, currently sitting on the short stack is Kanesh Pather.
This is really the first time during this bubble play that we've had a legitimate short stack. It does change the dynamic. Someone like Jason or Jeff Gross has to be very, very careful. They really can't play aggressively unless they have premium hands.
Limp pot between the 2 blinds. Mercier with 2 kings and Jungle Man with an ace. Flop is queen, deuce, 9. Both players checking, and now the ace on the turn, giving Kate's the best hand. Now the action is happening quickly. Despite the fact that that's an overcard to his 2 kings, Jason fires 8,000, and Kate's makes the call, having turned the best hand with a pair of aces. And the river card is an 8.
Jason pretty confident that his hand is good. Doesn't think Jungle Man could have an ace, having just checked in the big blind after Jason limped.
Yeah, Mercier fires half the pot on the river.
I have ace.
Kate's makes the call, and that'll make quick work of Jason's Cowboys.
Pretty unfortunate for Jason to get his kings cracked there. I think the main reason he limps the small blind there is because he knows that Jungle Man is in a position to put a lot of pressure on him pre-flop. So he limps with a very strong hand, hoping the Jungle Man would do it. Jungle Man, though, 1 step ahead, not only checking, but checking a pretty strong hand with an ace, ultimately getting there against Jason.
Strong hand is what Kanesh needs with his short stack, and that looks like one. Ace-queen offsuit.
Yeah, more than strong enough for Pather, starting this hand with about 6.5 big blinds. It's like he's feigning a little deliberation before he moves his chips in, hoping to get a call from a less than premium hand.
Holding.
You think that's going to work against guys like this as we see Kanesh move all in?
It shouldn't.
Doesn't matter how quickly or slowly he acts?
You never know how people will perceive different actions, but I think at this point, most players know the math involved in these plays.
2 folds in front of Jeff Gross in the big blind with Jack 5 of spades.
Not sure what Jeff's thinking about here. Jack 5 of spades, not really a strong enough hand to even consider calling against what should be a very tight and narrow range from Pather, moving his last 6.5 blinds in the middle.
Especially with a $200,000 bubble.
Yeah, it's really the bubble that determines how narrow Pather's range should be.
Oh, I really don't know the right answer here.
And Gross struggling.
52. I mean, I just don't know what to do, so this hand is symbolic to my homeland. I'm gonna give you
Houston, king 10.
No, not that. I would have called faster with that.
Oh, Gross eventually making the call, Olivier.
What you got? I got ace queen.
Yeah.
King 10 would have been a call. Jack 5 definitely not a call here.
Like 4 blinds. I mean, you're my buddy. That's
fine.
Motown. That's Michigan, you know.
That's fine.
Well, it looks like Jeff might have miscounted Pather's stack. He thinks that he had 4 big blinds, but Pather with really 6.5 big blinds seems like a mistake by Jeff here.
Here's the flop. Deuce, tray, 8. Small bit of exhalation coming out of Kanesh's corner here. Doesn't have to worry about being out flop. Turn gives Kanesh a pair of aces, but it also gives Gross a wheel draw, and Pather thinking no 4, no 4, no 4.
No.
And the dealer cooperates, and the hometown man will double up.
Nice hand, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was not right, but it was pretty close.
Huge double up for Pather here.
And a mistake by Jeff, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Guess I should have folded.
Pocket 8s for Cates. He makes it 16,000. And now Jeff has ace-8 offsuit.
I think when you're on the money bubble, you really have to play very tight. And I think ace-8 offsuit is a pretty easy fold with 18 or 19 big blinds.
All in.
Oh, and another disagreement between you two as Gross moves all in.
I think this is another mistake here from Jeff. He's a little bit unlucky that Jungle Man has such a strong hand. I think Jungle is likely to be raising with a relatively wide range as the chip leader here, but unfortunately for him, he does have pocket 8s.
Pather and Mercier fold, and now Cates faced with a big decision.
Literally the only person I might fold this to.
And try to get up, bink on me, Jungle, or what?
It's not what I'm thinking.
Jungle understands that Jeff should be very tight here. The only reason he might fold is because the bubble is such a great position for him as chip leader. He can really continue to chip up.
I call.
Oh, and Cates says screw it and makes the call.
What do you got?
8s.
And he has Jeff Gross in horrible shape.
Damn, Jungle.
I didn't think you'd have that.
I had ace-9, I was jamming.
Oh,
I was calling for sure versus you. I didn't think you'd shove that.
I didn't, yeah, I mean. Oh, let's see.
I don't know if there's somebody whose stomach is turning right now. It's Jeff Gross. He knows he wants to see an ace in these 3 cards. Not happening, though. Queen high flop. Gross needs a ton of help.
Yeah, sorry. I'll take a 10 or a queen.
He's asking for a 10 or a queen on the turn. Instead, it's a jack.
Not a bad card.
Now, Gross can hit a king to make the ace high straight. The ace will work for a bigger pair, or a 9 will give these 2 a chop. Here comes the river. It's a 3. And Jeff Gross is the dreaded bubble boy as he shakes hands and will say goodbye empty-handed.
That's so sick. That was a bad 2 minutes.
Very unfortunate sequence of events here for Jeff Gross, going from 2nd place to bubble boy.
And that sequence of events leads him to our very own Lynn Gilmartin.
Jeff, you seem to be in a bit of shock.
Yeah, it happened very fast. I mean, I would have bet a lot of money that I cash. I mean, like, get in the spot with the chips. I mean, I had, you know, I was playing to win, and I think I played some of my best poker, so it's disappointing. There's no other way to say it. It's disappointing. It sucks, but yeah, disappointing, and I guess it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but
All right.
yeah.
Well, it is a tough spot to bust. It was great to watch you play, as always.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. This was good. I look forward to more alpha 8s, and yeah, I look to win one. So I'll, yeah, 3rd, 4th, and hopefully a championship coming up.
For sure, absolutely. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Emperor's Palace Hotel and Casino in Johannesburg, where we are down to just 3 players, each of whom have their sights set on that $500,000 first place prize, but none of whom will be going home empty-handed, as $200,000 will be earned for 3rd place, along with, of course, the coveted Alpha 8 trophy and a pair of those brilliant monster 24K headphones. Here's a look at the chip counts. There's feast, and then there's famine. Daniel Cates, the chip leader, sitting on 782, and the local Kanesh Pather with 91,000. Cates lays down on the button, and Kanesh, the short stack, looks at King Queen.
But Pather here with 9 big blinds, and King Queen doesn't have too many options. He really just has to move his chips in and hope to double up.
Yeah, those blinds have gone up to 5 and 10,000. Ante steady at 1K. Kanesh ships it, and Mercier snap calls.
Walk into aces, boys.
Right into Mercier's pocket aces. A little bit of bad luck here for our amateur, Kanesh Pather.
Can't blame him for getting up out of his seat. Seems like his exit papers have been drafted. He is in awful shape.
And we might be heading to a very interesting heads up with Jason Mercier and Jungle Man, even though Mercier will be relatively short.
Here comes the flop. Oh, not so fast, my friend. All hearts.
Well, he's a sweet god, oh.
Wow, couldn't ask for much more for Pather's king-queen with the queen of hearts here.
Yeah, he can hit a jack or a heart to make the best hand. Right color, wrong suit on the turn. And now Pather has one tug at the deck to avoid elimination. Here it is. It's a heart! And Kanesh Pather has cracked Jason Mercier's aces. And Kanesh's fan club goes wild.
Very unlucky turn of events, obviously, for Jason.
You know, Olivier, this situation is somewhat familiar, eerily so for Jason. He has been snake bit by these pocket aces. If you'll remember at our very first Alpha 8 event in Florida, Jason Mercier got it all in with two aces pre-flop against JC Tran's ace 10 suited. And, well, on the river, just like in this case, the flush came in, and Jason Mercier's aces were cracked. You think that's weighing on him at all? You think he's flashing back to Florida?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think he was really just more expecting to get heads up, move up in the pay jumps, and give himself a chance to win this. Instead,
yeah, he's got to ship his last 50,000 in there with 10-7 offsuit, and he runs into aces now. It's just not fair.
It's a cruel kind of irony for Mercier here, getting his aces cracked and then being committed against pocket aces with 10-7 off.
If there is justice in poker, he should be cracking Jungle Man here, right? 9-6 tray.
Not a bad flop. Does have 4 outs to win here.
He's looking for an 8. Running clubs would work as well. Here's the turn. It's a queen, no help. Mercier needs an 8 and an 8 alone to avoid the 1-2 knockout punch. Can he connect? No, it's a king. And that's all she wrote for Jason Mercier. Jason loses with pocket aces and then gets sent home by pocket aces. The man with over $10 million in live tournament earnings will add a modest $200,000 to that figure as he leaves Kanesh and Daniel Cates to do battle. And Cates has all but locked up this win if he can just lean on Kanesh as we're down to heads up. Let's send it down to Lynn Gilmartin, who's with Jason Mercier.
Jason, aces have not been kind to you, have they?
No, not really.
No. What went through your head when your aces got cracked?
It was pretty disappointing, you know. If I win that pot, going into heads-up play with a, pretty big deficit, but I like my chances to come back against Strungleman. And, after I lost, I wasn't too happy.
You're in the money, and now you've doubled your money, $200,000 in your pocket. You've got to be happy with that, right?
Not really. I was very focused on winning, and, I thought I was going to get to heads up, so pretty disappointing, but, I can't complain.
It's all about the title.
Exactly. All about the title and the headphones.
And the headphones, exactly. All right, well, thank you so much for talking to us. Great to see you play, and best of luck at the next Alpha 8.
Thank you.
And Jason leaves the action here heads up. When we return, it's Kanesh versus Goliath. Poker phenom Dan Cates has a lot to say, especially when WPT champ Antonio Esfandiari is asking the questions. Log on to clubwpt.com/alpha8 for an exclusive look at what happens when the magician grills the Jungle Man. It's the A8 clip of the week, only on clubwpt.com, the home of fun, exciting poker you can play for free.
We are heads up here at WPT Alpha 8 Johannesburg. Tonight's winner will receive $500,000, the trophy, and the 24K Monster headphones.
There is a look at Kanesh, or David in this situation, because that is Goliath. His chip stack massive and his skill level certainly on the order of best in the world, Daniel Cates. And it's going to be pretty difficult for Kanesh to do anything if Kates is going to pick up this part of the deck. Ace, queen offsuit. Kates raising to 20,000. Kanesh defends for an extra 10 with 9-5 suited, and we head to the flop. First flop of heads-up play is queen 10-5, both players with a pair. Kanesh checks, and Kates with a quick check behind him hits trips on the turn.
I don't like that check from Jungle Man. I think Pather likely to move in if he catches any part of the board there.
Both players checking the turn, and the river gives Kates a full house and counterfeits Kanesh. Now he's just playing 9 high.
And as we see, he doesn't take a shot. I like that play. I wouldn't try to bluff either.
Got counterfeited.
I'm gonna have the stand.
Yeah, no, I got the 5. Got counterfeited, yeah.
Well, and Kate's giving him a look at an ace there.
Yeah, I think he specifically didn't want to show him the queen.
Make it seem like he can value bet with the ace high.
Any other card, I ship it.
Oh boy, Kate's wishing it was any other card. Let's get it over with. Well, this is certainly exciting regardless of outcome for Kanesh as he moves all in with king-jack offsuit.
How much?
6.5 big blinds normally would be a pretty easy call from Jungle Man.
Call.
And he makes the call with jack 10.
Took an extra second because he knows Pather is going all in a little bit narrower than most professionals would.
Yeah, maybe.
And Kates will be dominated heading to this flop.
Good opportunity for Pather to double up, give himself...
Don't say breathing room.
I was gonna say breathing room, but really just himself a few more chips.
A new lease. Short term, but still new.
Got a king.
King's way better.
Here comes the flop, and oh, wow. 7, 9, 10.
Queen.
This is not going to be easy for King-Jack, is it? Kates has the best hand and a gut-shot straight draw, but Kanesh has a straight draw as well, looking for a queen or a king. The turn is a jack. Jack's up for Kates. Now just the queen or the king will keep Kanesh's hopes of dethroning Kates alive. Can he do it, or will Kates be our champion? It's a full house on the end for Daniel Kates.
Good game.
And Daniel Kates is your Alpha 8 Johannesburg champion. Will take home $500,000. But honestly, Kanesh Pather really impressed us, and he'll earn $275,000 for his effort.
Yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to Pather here. I think he played really well, able to hold his own against this very tough field. But Jungle Man just ran too well and just played really exceptionally well. Really dominated the table from start to finish.
And these two will have a chat with Lynn.
Now, you are a high-stakes poker player, but it's your first time to play against these particular guys at the table. How did you find this experience?
It's awesome. Yeah, just played my game and enjoyed it.
It was very fun to watch you too, so congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And Jungle Man Dan Kates, the Alpha 8 Johannesburg champion, congratulations to you. $500,000 in your pocket. What's going through your head right now?
It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. How would this sit in your live poker career?
This would be my biggest cash in terms of tournaments. It's actually not my biggest win in a day, ironically. So I played some high stakes cash games live as well. Okay. And I've done a lot of high stakes stuff online, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it's cool to win a tournament.
It's one of your proudest moments, right?
Yeah.
Now you came into this final table with a commanding chip lead, and you pretty much held it most of the day. Did you feel like this championship was going to be yours?
Sort of. Yeah, there were certainly points in which I thought there was a very high chance that I'd win. But you know, if you're overconfident in poker, it usually results in losing money. So you gotta also like make sure I've got it make sure I have it until I actually do win it.
Well, it was great to watch you play. Huge congratulations once again to Jungle Man Dan Kates, the Alpha 8 Johannesburg champion. That's it from us here in South Africa. Thanks so much for watching. For Ali Najad and Olivier Bousquet, I'm Lynn Gilmartin. Good night. St. Kitts, it will cost you $100,000 to take a seat at our poker table. Paradise has its price. This is WPT Alpha 8.
Welcome to Christophe Harbour, a stunning residential resort on the Caribbean's most authentic island, St. Kitts. WPT Alpha 8 has returned for a second season to bring you VIP access to our $100,000 buy-in Super High Roller. Last season, German poker pro Philip Gruissem took home a boatload of cash after winning his second A8 title in a row right here. And today, we have a field full of players gunning to follow in Philip's footsteps, including recent A8 London champion Dan Coleman. Now, Dan has been crushing the world of super high rollers, so he is a force to be reckoned with. Now, no A8 is complete without our astute commentators. Joining me today, we have globe-trotting wise guy Ali Najad, and sitting in for Olivier Bousquet is World Poker Tour's raw deal analyst Tony Dunst, over in the club WPT.com Skybox. Welcome to paradise, fellas.
Thanks so much, Lynn. The open air has inspired an open collar look for myself and the man they call Bond 18, Tony Dunst, who is, of course, filling in for Olivier Bousquet, a friend to both myself and a friend and competitor to you, Tony.
You know what? He belongs out there. He's a great player. He's got the money to pony up with these guys, and he knows from watching these with you that they're great opportunities.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with the beautiful island of St. Kitts, it's just an easy 3-hour flight from Miami, and thanks to the Royal Beach Casino, located in the wonderful Marriott St. Kitts Resort, we were welcomed to the island in style. It was here at the Royal Beach Casino Sky Ultra Lounge where WPT champ Antonio Esfandiari introduced the event's co-host, St. Kitts resident poker expert Bill Perkins.
It's a great venue. I want to welcome everyone from near and far. I also want to thank you for donating your money this year to me because I intend on winning.
Bill invited several of his friends to play in the event, including Canadian businessman Michael Singh, along with Bill's poker coach, former WPT Ones to Watch Jeff Gross, and Alpha 8's first ever female competitor, Texas CEO Kathy Laney. Everybody was, of course, in high spirits, so they stopped for a few photo ops before moving the party to a nearby local hangout, the infamous Shiggity Shack, for a little bit of late night fun. Now, Tony, the night before a big event, I don't know, 100K buy-in type attorney, you like to focus in or let your hair down a bit and have some fun?
I have no fun at all the night before a poker tournament, Ali. I am all business. I am the most boring man on earth right before the tournament gets started.
Let's take a look at the lineup here. A total of 11 players at this year's event. They'll be split 5 and 6. We're looking at a good mix of pros and amateurs.
Yeah, we've got 6 professionals, 5 amateurs today. At our feature table, we're going to be watching Olivier Bousquet face off against Antonio Esfandiari. Now, Antonio has got one of the best tournament poker resumes in the game. I want to say top 3 all-time in the money list.
Now, we do have 3 amateurs at this feature table, including Bill Perkins, Tony Guglietti, and Michael Singh, all of whom are friends of one another. Do you feel as though this is going to be easy pickings for the 2 pros, or is the fact that they're outnumbered here at the feature table with what are proverbial wild cards going to create a bit of a challenge?
Well, it's tricky to say, Ali. The problem with recreational players is you don't know what to expect out of them in terms of their style of play. So are they going to be really volatile and firing their chips in there, or are they going to be really hesitant and risk-averse?
100,000 in chips in front of each player to begin. The button in front of Bill Perkins. Blinds are 2 and 400. The ante is 50. Olivier started the party with a raise to 1,200 and has been called by Bill's King 10, Tony's Ace 10, and Michael Singh can't resist with Deuce 5 suited. He's looking to lay a little zesty beat on somebody as we go to the flop 4-way.
Yeah, no surprise that this is such a multi-way pot. Amateur players are a little more risk-averse pre-flop, don't like to re-raise as much, tend to call, as you see with the King 10, the Ace 10, whereas a lot of players would re-raise.
Queen 9-3 rainbow on the flop. Couple of checks in front of Olivier, who comfortably fires 2,600 with top pair and a king kicker. Perkins lays down the gut shot straight draw.
Yeah, a little surprising. He's in position. He had a draw to the nuts. You know, Tony's going to continue here, but he doesn't really have much at all. I'd rather see Bill make the call than Tony.
Yeah, no doubt, especially given that Bill would have been in position, whereas Tony is out of position.
Right.
Heads up to the turn, and that turn is the 4 of diamonds. Doesn't change much.
Yeah, so no help to Tony. I'm not sure how he can really win this pot. You know, Olivier is not going to back down. Great board for his king-queen, so he's going to bet again.
8,000 into the pot of 10-250, and that'll draw the curtain on the first hand, sending the chips over to Olivier Bousquet. How do you feel about winning the first hand in a tournament? You feel like it helps establish table image?
It definitely helps you establish some momentum. And in a re-entry tournament, it's nice to think that you cannot get knocked out. You don't have to face ponying up another $100,000 in the near future, whereas you can knock anybody else out.
All right, as the action continues, Olivier takes a peek.
Correct.
At 2 10s and raises again. Same amount, 1,200, 3 times the big blind. Couple of nickels for Bill Perkins, who calls from the small blind for an extra 1,000, and 2 hooks for Tony Guglietti.
And he peels his cards in a very casual way. You don't see a lot of pros do the double thumb peel.
Punish him.
And I like that he's raising here, but I'm also interested in how big he makes it.
And Tony from the big blind has made it just 2,800 total.
Yeah, I would have preferred to see him make it around 4.5 to 5,000. The stacks are really deep. There's a caller in between. He's got one of the best hands in poker. I think he wants more money in this pot.
Yeah, and I feel as though one of the goals of re-raising here would be to either narrow the field or gain information, neither of which are served by a raise of that amount.
Correct. He essentially bloats the pot, and he's out of position against one of the professionals at the table, so this almost makes his life more difficult.
3 pocket pairs, all looking to hit a set on the flop. A 5 right away in the window with a couple of 3s behind it. Bill Perkins has a full house, wraps the table, indicating a check. And now Tony and Olivier are in a world of trouble. Tony committing 7,000.
I mean, this is just an ideal flop for Bill. Not only did he flop a full house, but both of his opponents feel confident in their hands on 5-3-3.
With those over pairs, Olivier just calls the 7,000. And now what will Perkins do?
And Bill has an option here. He can raise, he can call. Both are pretty reasonable.
Hello,
and he is going to raise it up.
Leroy Jenkins is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Leroy Jenkins.
Leroy Jenkins.
Dun, dun, dun.
Leroy Jenkins, one of the most inspirational people in the history of YouTube video gaming clips.
Or as they say online, Leroy Jenkins. Was that World of Warcraft that originated in?
Oh, it may be.
Only in St. Kitts.
What the?
Tony has made the call for an extra 15. Olivier has done the same, and this pot has quickly swelled up to 75,000 in chips. Here comes the turn card.
Oh, wow.
And it's a 10. Olivier has 10s full of trays over Bill Perkins' 5s full.
And Bill just instantly goes all in with the flick of the chips.
Can I redo that?
He's thrilled to be all in.
Leroy!
This is a disaster for Bill.
Is all in.
It's not official until he's Leroyed it. And the remainder of his stack, over 81,000, right into the middle. Tony knows something's awry. He lays it down, and it's back over to Olivier.
I call.
He makes the call.
Oh my God.
And Bill Perkins has just lit a match to $100,000.
I refuse to show my hand.
Oh my
I'm
God,
rebuying.
that's so sick.
Now, he isn't drawing dead.
No.
He could hit the
rebuying.
4th 5 in the deck on the river here. Will he do it?
No 5s left?
No.
Sorry, Bill.
Chips?
It's a jack. Tony would have made jacks full and won the
Chips.
pot, but instead, Olivier Bousquet has just taken down a massive pot here.
I felt like he might have like jacks or kings. He had 10s.
Whatever, dude. If he's got 10s, I mean, he's got 10s.
Yeah, it's not that good deal.
I've never seen somebody lose $100,000 that fast and be so nonchalant about it. He's just like, next.
I hit the jack. Son of a gun. And oh, he had 2 jacks? If only it came out before. Oh my God.
Leroy Jenkins is out. Gone.
Oh, something tells me Leroy Jenkins is not out.
He's temporarily absent.
Yeah, Bill Perkins, the de facto ambassador of this event, resident of St. Kitts, gets the dreaded red wash, but something tells me we're going to be clearing that off his icon there shortly.
Just peels a 10 on the turn for all the chips. Luck box. It's very rare that he's in with the worst hand. You know, the one time he's in with the worst hand in like 4 years, he just gets it. You know, I think it's about 4 years since he's had the worst hand.
Bill, you lasted 1 orbit.
It was a fun orbit, by the way. It was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
I'm going in for more. I'm a glutton for punishment.
There's no doubt about it. You're going straight back in.
I'm going straight back in.
All right, well, get back in there and
I'll get
keep
back in there.
entertaining us. Good luck.
I'm switching hats. It was the hat. I'm switching hats, and it had to be the hat. Now we mean business. Where am I going?
Just a second, Bill.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like tripling up.
Well, just a couple of hands into the action, and Bill Perkins has already dusted off his first $100,000 bullet. But it's pretty safe to say that he'll be back for another dose, right,
It's
Tony?
fine. I think he's got 100K in his pants pocket.
Alpha 8 is brought to you by ClubWPT.com. Fun, exciting poker you can play for free.
Every player has to start somewhere. Begin your path to poker greatness. Log on to clubwpt.com and play for free. Become a VIP member and enjoy insider benefits. Plus, take a shot at a share of $100,000 in cash and prizes every month. Win at clubwpt.com, but never lose a dime playing poker guaranteed.
What the?
Now tell us about that hand with Bill. Did you have any idea he was that strong?
No, I mean, yeah, definitely not since I called with just 2 10s. Like on that type of board, 5-3-3, I mean, Bill kind of tricked me a little bit, I guess, because there just aren't that many good hands that he can have, and if he does have one of the really good hands, it's very, very hard for someone else to beat him. So a lot of players would kind of not play it as strongly as he did.
I'm all in.
I call.
Oh my God.
But it was still a big raise, and I got really, really lucky that obviously they hit a 10, and then he actually had a full house, so I won a big pot.
You got paid off.
I did, yeah, I did.
Well, Olivier certainly isn't one to be luck averse, although that's not what he tends to rely on, as we get a look at 11 players, each of whom are in for $100,000, with the exception of Bill Perkins, who's on his second bullet. Now, Bill drew a seat at the outer table, which means that Jason Mercier, or Tony, perhaps welcomed is the wrong word.
Yeah, this is pretty much worst case scenario for the feature table. Jason is one of the best young tournament players in the game. He's had big success on the tour, even at the high stakes and super high stakes tournament level. So he is not going to be affected by the stakes we're playing for today.
He is exactly to the left of Antonio Esfandiari and Olivier Busquet, respectively, which may change the way they approach pre-flop play now.
I agree. I think that they will be a little more averse to just calling pre-flop when they risk Jason re-raising behind them.
King 9 suited for Michael Singh, who limps in for 400, blind still at 2 and 400, ante of 50. The invitation was accepted by Olivier and Antonio with pocket deuces and 5 deuce offsuit respectively, but Tony says, I want to play for more, and makes it 1,200 to go after Jason Mercier had limped in with the King 10 offsuit.
And Ali, we talked before about raising larger pre-flop to discourage so many players from calling, and you see Tony making the same mistake here. He's only gone 3 times the size of their limp. Everybody, of course, going to come along.
The world is not enough.
You need to increase the size of that pre-flop raise from 3 times the big blind when you have all those limpers in front. Flop comes out 5-5-4, trip 5s for Antonio Esfandiari.
Yeah, I was wondering why he was playing this hand pre-flop, but I guess we've just found out why.
Clairvoyance dunce,
That's it, easily.
Michael Singh is firing 4,000 with complete air here, and Antonio makes the call.
Came to fire today, huh, Singh?
You're firing me.
You're firing.
I'm getting the pink slip.
Turn card is a king.
That's bad.
That's bad for Michael Singh.
That's real bad for Mike.
He doesn't think so, though.
He's going to keep betting here.
About half the pot, 7 grand.
Antonio has his options here between raise and call. I think I would rather just raise because Mike doesn't seem like the type of guy who wants to fold if he's connected with this board. But also, if he's just stone bluffing, then Antonio wants to give him that opportunity.
You're killing me.
Esfandiari ended up just calling. Singh continues to have control of the betting. A 3rd spade hits the river.
3,000.
And he bets really small here. He bet like 1/10 of the pot. He's just trying to get to a showdown for cheap.
And Antonio...
Not gonna let that happen. He wants to play for more.
Makes it 16,000 total. Now, what's Singh thinking here, staring at this board?
He has to be worried about trips, full houses, flushes, even a straight could have potentially got there. There's a lot of things that can beat him, so hopefully he gets away here, but he might get a little bit stuck or just decide Antonio's bluffing.
You're too good, baby, too good. I gotta think this one through.
To call the extra 13,000 is pretty much deciding Antonio was bluffing.
He can only really beat a bluff. No worse hand is gonna raise him there for value.
Call. Call. 2-5. Are you serious? What a schmuck. All right. 2-5.
Offsuit.
Yeah, I know. You saved the 3%.
Singh, none too pleased about that outcome.
But you know what? Antonio has got one of the best resumes for tournament poker in the history of the game. He's one of the few players that we saw make WPT final tables back in Season 1, Season 2, and is still competitive to this day.
Reputation certainly precedes him when it comes to World Poker Tour events. Action on Michael Singh.
Oh.
Who looks at Queen Deuce suited, less than premium holding, but he wants back in the saddle. No pun intended, as Michael actually used to own and race horses for a living. 10-7 suited for Olivier, who limps in. Antonio back at it with 4-5 off.
Hey, family. Family style. Buca de Beppe. Really speeds, man. Second
It's
half.
five-way action to the flop, which is ace, queen, 7 offsuit. Most players have hit this in some way, shape, or form. Jason Mercier, first to act, fires 1,000 with the aces.
Yeah, a little something for everyone here, except for Antonio Esfandiari. It looks like everybody else is going to get to the turn.
4 stay, 1 down.
4,000 more into the middle. 1 player down, 4 remain. Turn card is the king of diamonds.
That's a very good card for Olivier. It now gives him outs to diamonds and a straight with a jack. Plus, he can still catch a 10 or a 7, so he's got a lot of equity here.
After a check from Jason, Tony takes control of the betting, firing 3,000 with second pair and the Broadway draw. Michael still looking for some help here
Yeah,
with the
strange
queen
bet and
deuce.
strange call, Ali. But Olivier in an interesting spot here. He can call or raise with his hand. Both are viable. I'm curious to see which he opts for.
And it looks like a raise to 20,000 semi-bluff with the flush draw and straight draw, coupled with the 7s, makes quick work of Jason and Tony as well. Now over to Michael. Can't imagine him making the call.
Queens and 7, computer hand.
Sure enough, Singh out of the way, and excellent execution from Olivier.
Yeah. Yeah, you got it straight. Something like that. I don't know. Whatever. I just felt that I'm out. And I have the lowest 2 pairs, queens and 7s.
Yeah, that's tough.
Tony, did I hear that right? Queens and 7s. I don't remember that being Michael's hand.
Yeah, Mike's inflating his hand a little bit there. He doesn't want to get pushed around by Olivier, and he's trying to pretend he had something stronger than he did.
Trying to protect his table image. More from St. Kitts in a moment.
Looks like the poker gods and the weather gods are going crazy right now. Let's get back to Ali and Tony.
The heavens have parted, Tony, but I feel like some of the pros felt that that was the case before the rain happened.
And you know what? None of them were planning to leave the table anyway, so they don't care what it's like outside.
All right, there's a look at 11 players, each of whom are in for $100,000, with the exception of Bill Perkins, who's in for $200,000. Chief among the stacks right now, Olivier Bousquet, sitting on $224,000 and change. Blinds are at 250 and 500. Antes are 75, and there is Jason Mercier. He will open the action with 5-6 suited, raising to 1,000. That is just 2 times the big blind, Tony.
Yeah, Jason going with the min raise here, despite the fact that stacks are still very deep. That communicates to me that he wants to get in as many post-flop situations against the amateurs as possible.
Tony Guglietti will sit this one out. Over to the button. Michael Singh has 10-9 suited, and he's going to play along. And it's 2 kings for Olivier in the small blind.
45.
He is going to 3-bet it to 4,500 total.
And Ali, we talked before about making your re-raises larger when you're out of position. You see Olivier follows through here. He makes it 4.5 times the size of Jason's initial raise.
Antonio thinking things over with king-queen offsuit. And he not only wants to play, he wants to 4-bet it here, Tony.
I actually like this play from Antonio. He's getting it in behind with Olivier, but he's picked a good hand to make this play with. He's got blockers to Olivier having big pairs, and he's putting the squeeze on the rest of the opponents on the table.
He made it 12,000 total. Both Tony and Michael have folded, and it's back over to Olivier, 7,500 to call.
And I think Olivier will probably call here. That gives Antonio some rope to hang himself with, and in the event he's bluffing, Olivier can count on him continuing after the flop.
Bousquet indeed just calls, and they'll be heads up to the flop, which is Queen 10 deuce, a troublesome one for Antonio.
Yeah, this is probably going to cost him 1, maybe 2 streets.
Bousquet checks it. And Antonio is going to check behind him, not going to follow through.
Yeah, I like that check there. When he flops the queen, he's essentially in a way ahead, way behind situation where he's either outflopped the pocket jacks or the ace king, or he's still way behind aces or kings.
26 and change in the middle. Olivier has fired 20,000 at Antonio. And the trouble here is Antonio really doesn't know where Olivier's at.
No, he really doesn't. Olivier could be bluffing with something like ace king, king jack, or clubs, or he could have an ace queen, kings, aces, a set of tens, and is just trying to get value for his hand.
Well, Antonio's certainly not ready to lay it down, calls the 20,000, and the river really doesn't change anything. No straights or flushes on the board. And Olivier is going to bet again, this time 35,000, and that's a well-selected number.
Yeah, he's fired about half pot here, and he's really tempting Antonio to call him. And of course, the problem for Antonio is that Olivier would play both his strong and his weak hands identically here.
Yeah, it's a polarizing move, and Antonio not at all comfortable with the situation, especially because if king-queen's good on the turn, it's good on the river in this spot 99% of the time.
That's right. There's no reason that the 5 of diamonds would change anything here. Liv is not getting to this river with pocket 5s or queen 5 suited or something strange like that.
And Esfandiari purses his lips and sticks the extra 35,000 out there for a look at the bad news. Bousquet's 2 kings are going to cost Antonio a big pot.
It's a really well-played hand by Olivier. When he calls pre-flop, he allows Antonio to get tangled into the pot. In this case, he flops a pair, but in other situations, he would have just continued firing.
Good discipline by Bousquet, and he is now up over 300,000 in chips.
Yeah, Olivier's playing really well here and stacking up chips at a rate that makes me think you might be stuck with me for a while.
Bousquet, no doubt not looking to punch his ticket back into the booth, Tony. He'd be happy to take this wire to wire. As he lays down, sits this one out, as does Antonio. Over to Mercier.
Raise.
He makes it 1,000 again, this time with queen 9 offsuit. Picks up Tony with 7-8 suited. And Michael wants to play with 10 deuce off.
Yeah, that's a pretty speculative hand there. Of course, a very historic hand, known for Doyle Brunson having won 2 World Series main events with that hand.
Board is 10 deuce 3 rainbow, and Michael Singh's got a big piece of it.
Check. Mike playing a very speculative 10 deuce offsuit here, but it works out for him when he flops 2 pair.
All 3 players check, and the turn is a 7, giving Tony a piece, but he checks again.
2,000.
And Michael fires a modest 2,000.
Yeah, the Doyle Brunson hand treating Mike really well here.
Jason out of the way. Tony says, I'll keep you honest, at least for one street, and the river card is a jack.
I wonder if it was Doyle that inspired Mike to play this hand, because most people don't look down at 10 deuce and say, yeah, let's go to a flop.
Well, he was already in for half in the big blind.
Here, I'll show you Doyle Brunson.
Tony checked it to him, he bet 5,000. Tony won't pay off and gets a free look nonetheless at Michael's 10 deuce 2 pair.
10 deuce is good enough. Holy moly.
Every player has to start somewhere. Begin your path to poker greatness. Log on to clubwpt.com and play for free. Become a VIP member and enjoy insider benefits. Plus, take a shot at a share of $100,000 in cash and prizes every month. Win at clubwpt.com, but never lose a dime playing poker guaranteed. And we got a little unexpected weather. What do you think about this?
You know when you're on vacation and the weather's not great, so like everybody kind of tries to figure out something to do indoors, so they go in and like play a board game or they figure out something to do. And you know, we just decided to play 100K.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Right? That's how it feels.
Yes, it really. So we're playing a rainy day home game.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
And
very
it's-
expensive
It just
one.
happens to be for a lot of money.
Well, when you're running as good as Olivier has been in this event, poker feels like a big vacation, doesn't it?
Yeah, he seems very upbeat in those interviews. We'll see if that persists if he drops any chips.
Well, he's not dropping any for the time being. He is the overwhelming chip leader with almost 315,000 in front of him. Blinds at 250 and 500, ante at 75. Button on Olivier.
Oh.
Michael Singh is limped in with 6 deuce suited. Olivier does the same with ace-6 off, as does Antonio with ace-10 off from the small. Jason Mercier checks the big blind and 4 players to the flop, which is 8 deuce 4 and a couple of diamonds. Jason will fire with middle pair. Only Michael Singh along for the ride with bottom pair. Turn card is a 9. Jason quickly checking, and
12.
Michael's going to position bet 1,200.
Yeah, he bets small here, and we've seen before that he typically bets larger when he's confident in his hand. So I think that's why Jason is calling so quickly here.
And the river card is a king of diamonds.
33.
Jason checks again, and a quick bet from Michael, this time 3,300.
Yeah, a quick and larger bet from Michael. It wouldn't surprise me if it gets Jason to lay down. What I'm curious about is Michael betting here because he thinks Jason has a better hand and he's trying to bluff him? Or is he betting because he's just not quite sure what he should be doing?
Well, one's tempted to think the latter, given that Michael Singh is certainly far from a professional player on the amateur side of the spectrum at this event, but bluffs off the pro in this spot, picking up a nice pot.
Yeah, the larger bet worked for him there, and Jason doesn't really know that he laid down the best hand, but he's gonna wonder because Michael's in there every single hand.
I'm sweating my balls off. Top 5 sweatiest they've ever been for sure.
Ball playing?
No, ever. I mean, I might just have to go commando here.
Commando? You may have to.
It's too hot.
Antonio feeling the heat and threatening to go commando.
Oh.
Don't do it.
It's a 100K strip poker game.
Singh again limping in. Olivier does the same despite having the ace-9 offsuit.
So,
and
what
wait a
is
minute.
Antonio doing?
No, it's just some readjustments taking place, folks.
Sometimes you gotta readjust.
Sometimes you gotta readjust. Oh yeah, poker. 4 players to the flop. Ace, deuce, trade, 2 diamonds.
Singh has flopped the nuts here.
With the straight.
Yeah, the limp fest continues here. Mike Singh drills it on this board, but Olivier with top pair is gonna have trouble getting away.
Well, certainly for 1,000, which is the number that Michael has settled on for the post-flop bet. Olivier makes the call, and he'll be heads up in position against Michael. Turn card is a 6. Michael still with the nuts. Improves to a 6-high straight and bets again. 3,000 this time.
We are seeing those larger bets from him when he has a strong hand. I wonder if Olivier has picked up on that or if he's just not going to fold because he knows Michael plays so many hands.
River puts a 3rd diamond on the board, but doesn't appear that Michael Straight is concerned, and he bets 5,500. Now, what do you do if you're Bousquet?
This is a tough spot for Olivier. He's got top pair, and he thinks that he's probably good on the flop, and if Michael had a flush draw, he's got there. But otherwise, he's also aware that Michael is getting to the flop with any 2 cards, so there's a lot of random things he could have here that Olivier still beats.
Ace-4, Ace-5, and Ace-7 are about the only hands that Michael might have that Olivier would beat.
Straight to the 6.
Straight, good hand, very nice.
On the flop, yeah.
Very nice.
Well, it's no 10 deuce on this occasion as Olivier pays off. Michael takes down another one.
Now, I wonder whether Olivier could have gotten away there on the river or was just kind of sucked in by the frequency that Mike's seen the flop.
Yeah, Michael, as the amateur, obviously has been paying a little bit of attention so far in the action because we've seen him make the adjustments, and that's kind of the hallmark of somebody who's at least applying what they're being exposed to. People talk about paying attention when you're not in the hand of poker, and he seemed to be doing that.
Like you said, Ali, sometimes you just gotta adjust.
Whatever, have fun.
Action folded around here to Michael Singh in the small blind. He'll limp in. Olivier says run it, and round 2 between these gentlemen.
It's pretty friendly for Olivier to just check behind there. He knows Mike is playing any 2 cards.
Oh, both players hit the flop. Top pair for Michael, middle pair for Olivier, but the action goes check, check, and now Michael improves to 2 pair on the turn and bets 2,000.
The problem for Olivier here is I think he checked that flop trying to induce bluffs from Mike, so I don't believe he's gonna get away here.
Well, he's made the call on the turn and now an ace on the river. Neither of the flush draws on the board on the turn came through. Michael bets 4,000.
Again, a larger bet into a pot of about 5,300 here, so his bet sizing does reflect his strength so far.
Oh, and Olivier's gonna pay off.
You got it.
That smile seems to have evaporated a little bit, but it wasn't an expensive call on the end. Could it be the product of having as many chips as he does, though?
It's always tempting in those marginal situations to just make the call when you have a lot of chips because you want to see cards, you want to see what your opponents are doing, and maybe there's some value for Olivier here because Mike is playing so many hands, he's having difficulty getting a read on him.
You know, some home.
Yeah, 7 deuce. I heard.
Yeah.
I've heard. Yeah, we just play for $300. You know, like Table's net worth is about $4 billion, and they play for $300. Seriously.
Yeah, I believe it.
Everybody's on the Canada's top 100 list.
Ali, what are the odds they play for 300,000 and he just kind of forgot?
Doubtful, but of course there's a story of Bill Gates playing in Vegas. He used to play 3 and 6 limit hold'em.
Yep.
Guy's worth billions.
Love of the game right there.
All right.
That's a good card.
3 players to a flop of 9-9-6 after Michael limped on the button. Olivier is trips here. Antonio with the nut flush draw will bet 1,500.
1,500.
Michael's gonna make the call with the gut shot straight draw, and up to Olivier.
Yeah, he could raise or call here. The advantage of calling is it keeps everyone in, and if he does raise, he's kind of announcing the strength of his hand, so I like his call.
3-way action.
Turn is a jack, changes nothing. Olivier checks one more time. Antonio does the same.
I'll bet 3,000.
When Michael doesn't want to take the free pull, he's going to bet 3,000 and try to end things right here.
I think it's optimistic to think both of his opponents will fold here. He'd be better off just taking the river card.
Olivier still not raising, and that allows Antonio to sneak in with the flush draw on the turn. And the river is a queen. A third check out of Olivier.
Yeah, he slow played all 3 streets, which shows me that he thinks the best way to get value out of Mike is to check and induce bluffs.
Antonio
Unbelievable. I had a
checked,
feeling.
Mike checked behind. And
Jesus. I had a jack.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice check. Very nice.
I had a 10 jack.
Wait a minute.
I had a straight open and a pair and 2 pairs, but I knew you had a 9.
And Michael Singh is either in need of a prescription adjustment on those glasses or a little bit of truth serum.
Antonio, what is this all about? Are you just begging for a relapse of last year?
No, the table is an oven with the lights. It's so hot. And Sorrel Mizzy's not here this year, so I don't have to get pants.
Okay, so yeah, his bum is safe.
Yeah, so there's no opportunity for you to in this year.
I didn't.
Sorry. She definitely
I didn't see anything.
show a little clip, go back, you see her eyes going right down at the Persian
They may
goods.
have gone to the Persian goods. Well, I didn't see the Persian goods, all right? I just saw what happened. That's it.
Is it just me, or was Antonio just hanging out with Lynn Gilmartin in his underwear while eating a plate of food, Tony?
Yeah, pretty much. It was opulent.
Opulent. I'm not sure I would have gone with that word. Now, as we know, and as they mentioned, Sorrel pantsed Antonio during last season's visit to St. Kitts. If you want to relive that moment, or maybe just some of the poker, become a member of ClubWPT.com. As a VIP member of ClubWPT.com, you have access to all of Season 1 of WPT Alpha 8. You can also watch regular World Poker Tour episodes and enjoy a host of other VIP perks.
At ClubWPT.com, you can play real poker and practice your poker skills and play for a part of $100,000 in cash and prizes every month.
Log on to ClubWPT.com for more information. In the meantime, let's get over to the outer table where we find Bill Perkins' coach, poker professional Jeff Gross, all in against the amateur Kathy Laney, the Texas Oil CEO. She's got ace-10 suited, he's got ace-6 off, and I'm pretty sure she's just sent him packing with the nut flush, Tony.
Yeah, Jeff is gonna have to come up with another $100,000 on short notice if he wants to re-enter, which I'm guessing he will.
Well, you know, Kathy is no stranger to poker. She calls Houston, Texas her home and is the first ever female to buy into the Alpha 8.
She's looked good so far. Major respect for Kathy.
Well, it is early. The re-entry period is open for a while. Do you think you're going to come back in?
I was thinking I was, but I'm not sure now. It looks like a pretty good field, and to fly all this way and then be out early, it's, you know, I like to play, so I might get back in, but we'll see.
Well, it's great to see you play. Hopefully we see you come back. Who knows?
Yeah, it's 50-50. I'm gonna go paddleboard and decide.
Perfect. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if it's 50-50, does that mean that Jeff's gonna flip a coin on that paddleboard to find out if he's gonna buy in again?
I think it means he's gonna tweet, does anyone in St. Kitts have an extra $100,000 lying around I could borrow for like a day or two?
Does anyone in St. Kitts have their cell phone on? We're on vacation. Come on, what are you thinking about here,
Plus
Tony?
that data is so expensive.
Something tells me these folks can afford it. As we get back to the feature table, we see Olivier Bousquet in firm control of the action, sitting on the chip lead with over 330,000 in front of him. Jason Mercier is gonna sit this one out.
Race.
Tony Guglietti looks down at a couple of 10s. And Guglietti is going to raise to 2,200.
I call.
Michael Singh on the button with ace-6 offsuit's just gonna call.
Yeah, he's very stubborn on the button, and I think if you're gonna play an offsuit ace here, you should either re-raise or fold.
Olivier is going to join the party with Jack-9 suited, and all three players will take the flop, which is Jack-4-6 with a couple of clubs. Olivier with the best hand, out-flopping Tony's 10s. He checks it over to Tony.
Pretty good board for everyone here. Tony's still got to like his condition with his 10s, but we know that Mike is going to get sticky with his middle pair, and Olivier, of course, with top pair.
Bet of 3,000 is called by both Michael and Olivier. 9,000 extra into the middle, and the turn, it's a hot one. We get it put into place. It is the 5 of spades. Olivier checks over to Tony, who checks as well, and Michael says run it. And the river is a 7 of clubs. 3 to a flush, 4 to a straight out there.
Yeah, that completes everything here. So obviously Olivier, Tony not that happy, and
Pair of sixes and ace.
Pair of jacks.
Mike just checks behind, kind of misses an opportunity to bluff there. We saw him turn a pair into a bluff earlier. That worked out for him. I think he would have got away with it again.
You're very good at the pairs. Just getting the best hand at the end, just having the best hand, it's working. It's working so far. You guys should work on that strategy.
Amazing.
These A8 pros are really on their game. Now you can play WPT Caliber Poker on your iPhone anywhere you go for free. Log on to the App Store to download Club WPT Express Poker. Remember, it's free and it's fun. I hope to see you in the game. So, Bill, tell me about Christoph Harbour.
Christoph Harbour is wonderful. They have one of the most beautiful pieces of real estate here in the Caribbean. My favorite areas of that is Sandy Beach Bay. The way they build here, they integrate with the land such that it's not obtrusive. It enhances what's around you and keeps the natural beauty and the flow of the lines. The pavilion, you know, one of the first structures that went up on Sandy Beach Bay. That's wonderful. You know, we play cards there. You see the views. It's stunning. I'm very, very, very fortunate to be able to come and visit here.
You are, and so are we.
Yes.
Thanks for having us, Bill.
Come and visit.
And he's not boasting either. This place is gorgeous.
Pictures speak for themselves, as do the chip counts. Olivier Bousquet in firm control of the feature table action. Jason Mercier in second, the only other player with more than his original starting stack of 100,000. Everybody else is heading in the wrong direction. Jason Mercier on the button, Tony and Michael in the blinds. Olivier folds under the gun. Antonio with ace-jack offsuit. He will raise it up to 1,600. Jason and Tony both folding, but can't expect a fold out of Michael Singh from the big blind with Jack-9.
No, he said he's stubborn pre-flop before, so he's definitely not going away with Jack-9.
No, indeed, Michael is defending his big blind for an extra 1,000. Heads up to the flop with Antonio. That flop is King-Queen-9 with a couple of diamonds.
Yeah, Mike has outdrawn him here, and we know that he's not likely to fold his hand if Antonio does bet.
He's got the straight draw and bottom pair. Checks it, and Antonio checks behind with the Broadway draw. Turn card is the 5 of clubs.
I like that Antonio checked behind there. I don't think you can make Mike fold many better hands, so just check and get the free card.
Michael is betting on the turn, and Antonio makes the call for $2,000. River card, a 9. Singh now has trips.
Yeah, I understand Antonio's turn call. He might have the best hand with ace-high. He's still got a draw. But now Mike is going to make a big bet here. And you see, like we talked about before, he's betting 7,000 into 8,000, which from him seems to display a lot of confidence in his hand.
You bluffing me, Mike?
That's all you get.
Yeah, Antonio not quite ready to release his hand.
A lot of draws missed.
Trying to get some information here.
A lot of draws missed, my friend. Sometimes you gotta just pay them off, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure why he's posturing so much. Maybe to get a read he'll use on Mike in later hands, but I just don't think Antonio's gonna call.
Missed draw, baby. You gotta pay to find out.
Indeed, ace-jack is returned to sender, and Michael Singh takes the pot. Antonio's stack heading in the wrong direction. He's down to 43,000 and change.
A lot, actually.
Jason Mercier folds his Jack-8. Tony Guglietti with pocket 3s.
1,400.
He's gonna raise it up. Makes it 1,400, a modest raise.
Mike here right behind him with the king-jack suited. Again, he could call, he could raise, but so far he's always opted for a call.
And that's exactly what he does, as does Olivier Bousquet with 7 deuce suited. Is this boredom?
I think this is Olivier being so confident in his post-flop abilities compared to his opponents that he'll take any reasonable holding and just try and get there with them.
Speaking of reasonable holdings, how about ace-king offsuit for Antonio Esfandiari? He is going to repop it to 6,400 total. Away goes Tony Guglielmi.
I call.
But not Michael Singh, who will call the extra 5,000. Easy fold for Olivier, and it's round 2 between Michael and Antonio as we head to the flop. And it's a good one for Michael Singh, Tony.
Yeah, this is a perfect board for his hand. Antonio might actually get caught in here for his entire stack because he didn't start with that many chips.
No, he didn't. On the flop, Antonio betting 7,300, and Michael, with a big piece of the pot, elects to just call.
Yeah, I like that he just called. In the event that he's ahead of Antonio, he wants to allow him the opportunity to bluff off the rest of his stack.
Right, and here comes the turn. It's a 4 of hearts. Michael still with the best hand, and Antonio is moving all in for 29,425.
Yeah, no surprise there. He picked up a straight draw on the turn. He might think that Mike has a weak pair, that he can blow him off here. It's just no surprise he moved in.
Decision time for Michael Singh.
Wow.
I'm surprised he's taking that long. So far, he's been so apt to just call bets and raises. I think something about the words all in are kind of intimidating to amateur players.
Yeah, you see him fussing with his hat a little bit. Can't imagine him finding the fold button, though.
You don't win if you don't play.
When sure enough, he makes the call, rolls over the winner.
I can.
And Antonio in a world of hurt here, but it isn't over yet. Michael is in the lead. Antonio is looking for a non-spade 5 or an ace. A king would be no good. Can Antonio avoid being dispatched by Michael Singh? He cannot, as the 6 of hearts hits the river, and Michael Singh takes a huge pot from the magician, but more importantly, sends the pro packing.
Yeah, we said this was a matchup between the pros and the amateurs today, and right now, the knockout count favors the amateurs.
Well, Antonio, the pants are back on. That can only mean one thing.
I'm not sweating down there anymore.
Yeah, it's either cooled down or the table has cooled down because this guy's heat is gone.
Yeah, I busted out. I tried to run King Jack off with Ace King when he flopped the Jack, and there was a lot of money in the pot. So I don't regret my decision. It's just whatever.
That's what happens.
Yeah, whatever.
Now, the semi-good news is that it's early. You can come back in. Are you going to come back?
Yeah.
Yeah? Easy decision. He doesn't even contemplate.
What am I going to do?
It's raining. What else are you
If it's
going to
sunny,
do?
I can go in the. I mean, I can still go in the ocean, but I'm definitely going to go back in.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you back at the tables.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony, what did you like out there in the action we've seen so far?
I like that Antonio complained about how hot he was, but then draped himself in a sweater.
Well, that is it for us tonight as we wait for Antonio to wrangle up another $100,000. Let's see how he does next time with his fresh stack of chips. But for now, for Ali Najad and Tony Dunst, I'm Lynn Gilmartin, and good night from St. Kitts. Tonight in the tropics, $100,000 gets you in the game. And with the turn of a card, it's either sink or swim. This is WPT Alpha 8. Welcome back to continuing coverage of WPT Alpha 8 St. Kitts. Our super high roller poker tournament is beachside here at the wonderful residential resort of Christoph Harbour. This ideal setting is a perk reserved for those players willing to risk $100,000. Last season, it was German pro Philip Gruissem who saw his investment turn into a $1 million payday. And tonight we have an elite group ready to draw their line in the sand in hopes of making it big, including A8's own Olivier Busquet, who is knee-deep in this competition. Now, sitting in for Olivier is WPT Raw Deal analyst Tony Dunst, along with poker commentator extraordinaire Ali Najad. They are comfortably stationed over in the clubwpt.com skybox. Hi, guys.
Hey, Lynn, I don't think we're the only two people that are feeling comfortable right now. She seems like she's having a good time out there. Welcome to those of you who are joining us for today's action here from Christoph Harbour in St. Kitts, a lovely venue for a little bit of poker. We are down to 10 of our original 11 players, A solid mix of 5 pros and 5 amateurs, Tony.
Yeah, we've been talking about the pro versus amateur dynamic, and so far we've had one.
Antonio Esfandiari at this point. Right now we've got 2 tables in action, our featured table and our outer table. 10 players, 5 at each. Here are the chip counts at the feature table. As you can see, Olivier Bousquet simply running away with things. 337,000 and change. A short stack at the table belonging right now to Tony Guglietti. He is going to be faced with kind of an uphill climb here with just over 40,000 in chips, and the blinds, they move ahead, 400, 800. The ante is at 100. We see Tony Guglietti. He is a real estate developer, founder, owner, and president of Townwood Homes in Canada.
We saw our amateurs prefer to limp in as opposed to raise or re-raise pre-flop, and we're seeing a continuation of that so far, even though King 10 and King Jack are both quite raisable hands.
All right, let him live.
4-way action to a flop of 8-8-5. Olivier has hit a 5. He checks it. Antonio's got the real 5 with the ace kicker and bets 1,800.
Now, Michael Singh is not a man who likes to fold pre-flop or even on the flop, and despite the fact that he only has overcards here, he's going to call Antonio's bet.
Now, Michael is in position and apparently engrossed in whatever's happening on his cell phone during this $100,000 buy-in event.
Checking the stock market, I guess, probably playing for higher stakes.
Speaking of checking, that's what Antonio has done, and now Singh is going to try to buy the pot with a bet of 3,300.
He might get away with this one, Ali. Antonio's in kind of an awkward spot here. His opponent could have something like 6-7, but he could also have trip 8s. He could have even limped a pair.
You have 7-9, Singh?
Oh, boy.
I feel like that 6 really hit you. What are you gonna do, right?
What are you gonna do? 3,300.
Antonio always looking to get information from his opponents, especially the amateurs.
Yeah, those are the ones who don't know they shouldn't be talking during the hand.
Yeah.
You'll never get this guy for anything. It's unbelievable.
Oh, Michael giving him the needle there, bluffing him.
Not even 3,300.
And talking like he had the goods, keeping up the facade.
Yeah, Singh has been talking about almost every single hand he's been in action about, and seldom in a truthful manner. As we go over to the outer table, Texas Oil CEO Kathy Laney sitting on pocket aces on the 10-6-8 jack board. She has checked it over to Bill Perkins, who's got the nuts straight.
I know what you got. There's nothing you can do.
He bets. Kathy ends up moving all in. Perkins makes the call, and she is drawing stone dead here.
And you could see Perkins was so confident in his hand. He said to Kathy, I know what you have. He just didn't seem to care. Well, because he's got the nuts.
Told you, I know what you got. Chips, Princess of Poker is down.
Oh, Bill calling for Kathy's rebuy.
Kathy, bye. I'm sorry. I told you, I know what you got. I know what you got. Come on.
Oh, that was a healthy smack on the top of the dome there.
Lose $100,000, win a hug.
Well, Kathy Laney, good news for her. She's got the funds to buy back in. Yet to be determined whether or not she will, although Bill Perkins certainly seems to believe she'll be in for another 100,000. And sure enough, Kathy has drawn for a new seat assignment, and it looks like she's going to remain at the outer table, just sliding over to seat 1.
Oh, didn't even do anything to earn the hug this time.
We'll take the dreaded red wash off of Kathy's image there as she carries on and is now in for $200,000 along with Bill Perkins and Antonio Esfandiari, the only 3 players to have re-entered. We resume the action at the feature table where Jason Mercier min raises with Queen 10 offsuit to 1,600. Michael Singh, of course, going nowhere with his ace 8, and Antonio defends the big blind with pocket 7s. 3 players headed to the flop, which is ace, jack, deuce. Antonio checks it over to Mercier, who's flopped the gut shot Broadway draw and bets 2,300 into Michael's aces, which are the best hand. Antonio folds.
We know from watching Michael play, he will never be folding top pair here, let alone really any pair.
Turn card is a queen. Mercier improves to second pair, but checks it.
Natural for him to check here. He's not sure whether he has the best hand, not sure whether he can get value by betting.
Singh bets 5,000, and Jason casually calls. River is a 4, changing nothing.
And hopefully Mike bets here again. He's going for it. I like the bet. He's bet small here. And we've seen Mike bet large when he's really confident in his hand. Jason pays a lot of attention. He might pick up on that and pay off here because he's bet so small.
Under the assumption that he's weak, and sure enough, there's Mercier's call. That is the face of a man who is not pleased with an outcome.
What was that statue, the Thinker? That's what Jason looks like about 99% of the time. He looks like a very upset thinker.
Make no mistake, though, Jason's certainly a student of the game and has the results to prove it. Sun setting on the beautiful Christoph Harbor landscape. Michael Singh has been taking quite a few pots so far in the action, in the early going.
You know, the tricky part about Mike Singh is because he plays so many hands, you really don't know where he's at in any given hand. And it's not like he folds on the flop when he doesn't have it and calls when he does have it. He just keeps going. Now, Michael's done a good job of improving as he goes along here. He doesn't pretend to be a very experienced poker player, but he's clearly picking up on what the professionals are doing around him and trying to adapt.
Yep, emulating that behavior. Ace-10 suited for Antonio, raising to 2,400.
Sing, baby. I gotta get some of my chippies back.
Oh, barbecue. Barbecue. Oh, you ain't gonna get him back like that, are you?
The flop of 5 deuce deuce gives him the best hand, and he leads right into the pre-flop raiser for 2,500.
And this is the tricky part about Michael Singh. Almost everyone checks and then calls a bet from Antonio here. Michael leads out, and Antonio doesn't know, is he just doing this with draws, with complete air, or is he doing this with pairs and trips? Well, this time it's a pair.
His curiosity has caused him to call the flop. Turn is a 9. Singh still with the best hand.
Check.
This time he'll check it to Antonio.
I think Antonio will check behind because he believes he has the best hand, but he also might think, I've got the best hand and I should bet to get value against Mike.
Oh.
Well, apparently the latter as he bets 3,500, though something tells me he would have rather seen Mike fold in this spot. Instead, Mike calls the 3,500, and the river is a 10, giving Antonio the best hand now. Mike checks.
That's the best possible card for Antonio to hit as well. If an ace comes out, Michael's inevitably going to be a little more scared of it, and he's going to be worried that 4-3 got there. But the 10 is really hard to pick for Antonio.
10,300 chips to call for Michael Singh.
He's been stubborn in these situations before. We know when he gets to the river and he has a pair, he typically doesn't like to fold it. So even though it's hard for him to have the best hand here, no surprise that he calls.
Last card, come on. Don't do that stuff. I read you good, but I had a 5. Damn. I knew you had ace something. I thought you had ace king.
Wait, did Mike just tell the truth about his hand?
He did tell the truth about his hand. That might be a first for this tournament.
Oh, man. Jeez, that was so marginal. I wasn't going to call. Oh, you got some chippies back.
I needed it.
Yeah, but I'm upset. Got the river. Son of a...
Michael, welcome to High Stakes Poker. Alpha 8 is brought to you by ClubWPT.com. Fun, exciting poker you can play for free.
Still want to get in the game? Log on to ClubWPT.com and play for free. Become a VIP member and enjoy insider benefits. Plus, take a shot at a share of $100,000 in cash and prizes every month. Win at ClubWPT.com, but never lose a dime playing poker, guaranteed. We're here in the beautiful Caribbean paradise of St. Kitts for WPT Alpha 8. This is my kind of pub. Well, now I know why Catitians are so happy. They've got rum growing on trees. We have the Atlantic Ocean on this side, the Caribbean Sea on this side, and just over the hill, we have our poker players playing down WPT Alpha 8.
And for those of you who are playing along with some trivia, Catitians is the term for people from St. Kitts. Now you know.
That's a beautiful woman saying a word I'd never heard and an accent I barely understand.
Oh, you got a little romantic there on me, Tony Dunst. Speaking of romance, Olivier has romanced his way to 361,000 in chips at this table, doing his part to try to secure a victory here in St. Kitts. Michael Singh, the amateur, second in chips right now. We get a look at his holding, Ace-7 offsuit. The blinds are at 501,000 with a $100 ante.
Michael Singh leading off with a limp, as has been his standard so far.
Antonio, perhaps looking to isolate with Jack-6 suited, makes it 4,000.
What, you after my blind all the time?
No, I'm after Singh.
And he makes no bones about it.
No.
I call you, buddy. You have to sing. Oh, because the 29,800 call. I forgot that.
Singh referring to having felted Antonio last time the two did battle before Antonio's re-entry.
All right, let's see what happens. I check.
Look at this flop, ace 8-4 with a couple of clubs. Mike has check called 5,200 with top pair. He is up against Antonio's flush draw. Turn card, puts a 3 of diamonds on board, changing nothing, and both players check. Here comes the river. It is a deuce.
I know that Antonio doesn't have much here, but I like that he slowed down on the turn. I hope he doesn't bluff this river because Michael Singh hates folding, and if he has any part of it, it's not going to happen when it comes 3 deuce.
Keep hoping, Tony. Antonio's just bet 15,300. Michael might have been worried about a 5 for a wheel, but he says call, and Antonio almost stubborn is in his desire to bluff Michael Singh out of a hand.
That's exactly how I describe it, because Antonio's been here for 2 entries now, watching Michael Singh refuse to fold, and he still tried to bluff him.
Antonio down to roughly 78,000 in chips, while Singh is up to 135 and change, courtesy of the Magician. You ever get in that mindset where you just can't beat a guy at the table and it starts to wear on you in one of 2 ways? Either you resign or you go doubling down on your efforts in ways you shouldn't to beat him?
Yes, but I'm a coward, so I always opt for resign.
Tony the Coward Dunst joining us.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
It sounds real sexy, Tony.
Yes.
The ladies are lining up as we speak. Mercier with ace-3, open for a raise to 2,000. Tony called with ace-deuce suited from the small blind. And where is Michael Singh gonna go? He's got 2 cards.
He's going nowhere. He's going to a flop is where he's going.
2 6s and a 7 on the board. No one is connected with it. Tony checks to Michael.
No one connects. That's a Michael Singh specialty board.
Yes, it is. He's bet 4,000. And the thinker thinks better of it.
This is unbelievable. No money, don't get paid off. Full house, unbelievable. 6, 7 of clubs.
So you?
Yeah.
Oh. Nice looking hand, 6, 7 of clubs, right?
Singh is really singing quite the song to the rest of the table in every single situation.
Some very tall tales.
Doesn't pay to go after Singh.
Does not.
I had 6, 7 of clubs. Hello? No money. I didn't even get a quarter. Antonio wasn't there trying to raise me.
Michael Singh is all over the place. You never know what he's got. He could have anything at any time.
Whatever. Have fun with you.
He was actually fun to play with because he almost never folded a hand.
Even though he's not a professional, he's very tough to read.
He's pretty much any 2 cards pre-flop.
I got the 4 spades. I gotta do it. I don't care what it is, right?
Yeah, he's definitely no easy pickings.
Okay, thanks.
I'd say those are some pretty strong compliments coming from those pros.
Yeah, they're also professionals at flattery.
Folded around to the man of the hour, Michael Singh, with king-4 offsuit in the small blind. He will limp in, and Olivier looks at ace-queen off. And Olivier from the big blind makes it 3,000 total with his ace-queen. He'll be heads up and in position going to the flop, which is deuce, deuce, 7.
Olivier didn't technically hit this board, but it's so unconnected that it's actually good for him here. He finds it very unlikely that Michael is connected as well.
I have the best hand.
And Olivier keeping it friendly, gonna give him a free show.
You know what I had? King Jack suited and I folded.
Oh.
I called the first 2.
Sure. That's a nice one.
Michael happy to check fold a relatively small pot.
Never tell anybody what you got. Just talk.
So Martin, we are standing right where we have the Alpha 8 final table. Now, so much effort goes into setting up this set from the WPT group, but this isn't always a poker room, is it?
The pavilion is used for our members that want to come by and relax by the pool or have a bite to eat or go to the beach.
Very nice. What a beautiful, beautiful space.
You know what we need, Tony Dunst? We need the suit/swimsuit, like a waterproof version, so we can just take a dip in that pool. It is hot out here.
Or just like rip off the jacket, go straight in, and then for whatever reason we have like water resilient cloth and then just dry off, come back to the booth.
We're sitting on a gold mine, I'm telling you. Speaking of gold mines, Olivier Bousquet, 363,000 in front of him, continues to sit on the chip lead as he looks at a couple of deuces and opens the pot, limping in for 1,000. We've seen that out of the amateurs, but not the pros.
A lot of the amateurs have been limping. I guess Olivier, with a small pair here, wants to give them the opportunity to get to a flop with him and have him flop a set so he can win a big pot.
And this is a dream situation. Olivier finds himself up against the two amateurs at the table. Here is the flop, ace, queen, deuce. Olivier with a set of deuces. Tony with the gut shot Broadway draw. Air for Michael Singh.
An ideal situation for Olivier here, who has flopped a set in position on a wet board against the two amateurs.
Both Tony and Michael check it to him, and he quickly bets 2,000. Tony not going anywhere with his draw.
I'll leave you there, too.
And Michael, we're proud of him. He's folding.
First for him.
Down to heads up as we look at the turn. It's a jack of diamonds. Wow. Disaster card for Olivier as Tony has made the ace high straight and checks it.
And there's just no way that Olivier can put his opponent on the straight here. He drew to a gut shot. He was fortunate to catch it. And now Olivier is going to bet. And assuming that Tony raises him, there's no way Olivier gets away here.
Well, the bet is 6,000, and Tony is fumbling through his chips, trying to settle on a number, and just 12,000 is the amount of the raise, Tony.
It's a check and min raise, which coming from an amateur is a sign of real strength because you're putting more chips in the pot and you're saying you don't care if your opponent calls you again. So Olivier here, likely alarm bell sounding in his head, but he doesn't know whether his opponent is strong because he overvalues two pair or because he's strong as a result of the straight he has.
Bousquet calls the 6,000 extra, and here comes the river. It's the four of hearts. Tony's still with the best hand. And how much is he gonna bet? Oh, he's not gonna bet at all, Tony. He's checking.
Yeah, he's been very slow play heavy with his strong hands.
Now it's a matter of can Olivier check behind? Almost impossible. And he is going to put Tony all in. Tony quickly makes the call.
Three deuces? Right.
Nice hand. Very nice.
Nice hand, Tony.
Very nice. How much?
Wow, not what you expected out of the amateur seat.
No, not what I expected, though I can't blame Olivier for putting him all in on the river. He had about a pot-sized bet left. Olivier thinks he's still got the best hand, but Tony successfully trapped him.
And really no way for Bousquet to get away from that cold deck.
Very nice hand.
I get a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Canada. My buddy.
Singh waving the flag on behalf of the two amateur Maple Leafs at the table. Tony Guglietti has got the proud distinction of having built over 40,000 homes in the greater Toronto area.
Sorry, I was a little too busy here.
Guglietti with 9-3 offsuit will take an opportunity to continue to stack his spoils from that last pot. King 10 off for Michael. Let me guess, he's not folding. Limps in for 1,000 on the button, refuses to raise. Now, we do know there are pros who prefer to play small ball and will do things like this, but that's certainly something for the more crafty and more professional players.
Yeah, you normally make these type of button limps when the stacks are much shorter in relation to the blinds. Michael here with the King 10 should really just be raising pre-flop.
5-5-6. Olivier likes the look of it. Two spades on the board, giving Antonio a flush draw. They both check it over to Michael, though. And Michael fires a modest 2,000. Olivier's check raises to 6,500. And Antonio is going to call. Mike gets away and leaves the two pros to do battle. And the turn is a 4. Olivier has made a full house. Antonio is now drawing dead, but has added an open-ended straight draw to his flush draw.
And Ali, just like we said, when Antonio calls that check raise on the flop, he creates the possibility that his hand gets there, but he still loses to a better hand.
And Olivier is going to bet 13,500 into the pot of 18,500.
And Antonio's stuck here now with overcards, a flush draw, a straight draw. He's clearly getting to the river.
Yeah, he started this pot with a little over 65,000, and another decent chunk of it heads into the turn as Antonio thinks he wants a spade or a straight card, and the river is an 8 of clubs. Antonio gets there.
Disaster. Just as we anticipated, Antonio is going to both make his hand and lose his stack once Olivier goes all in here.
Bousquet coming up with the right number. And he bets 150,000. Now he knows that that is significantly more than what Antonio has in front of him. Any reason for that?
Well, he believes that Antonio has got a strong hand to both call a check raise and that big bet on the turn. So he thinks, well, if Antonio's got something that big, he'll probably call a large bet on the river. Why not go for all of them?
Oh, yeah, 5-4.
Antonio even calls his hand.
5-8. Pretty sick.
Feels like there might not be backs on Olivier's cards the way Antonio's talking. You can see Esfandiari not pleased with this situation one bit.
Have another full house, huh? Got another boat? Middle-aged wizard? Huh? Middle-aged wizard won't even crack him.
I think Olivier's what? He's only what, 31, 32? Is that middle-aged? Am I middle-aged?
Relax, Dunce.
He wants to chuckle a little bit. He can't help it. I got him.
You got him. Good job. That's funny.
I mean, if you got a boat, you got a boat. Jeez.
And Antonio can get away here. Olivier has check-raised 2 players, one of which never folds on the flop, barreled the turn, shoved the river when the 4 straight comes out. I think Antonio, if he really wants to be disciplined here tonight, could lay this down.
Antonio started this pot with 65,000, and Olivier wants all of it. And he's gonna get it.
It's got a boat. You read him 4
Pretty freaking sick.
A $100,000 mistake on the river as Antonio pays off and is felted for the 2nd time.
All right, good luck, guys. Nice answer.
That is a man who has just lit a match to $200,000 in a matter of hours.
Antonio, we meet again.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Under sad circumstances.
I know. Now, you predicted Olivier had the full house. You still called?
I mean, I didn't predict it, but I went through the thought process and either had 4-5 or 8-4 or, you know, all of his bluffs. But look, I had a straight. Straights are hard to make. You know, I finally got there, and he had a boat. So there was a lot of money in the pot, and obviously it wasn't the right decision. But
that's poker, right?
That is poker.
All right, 3rd time lucky?
I don't know. 2 bullets is probably enough for me today.
All right. Well, great to see you play as always. Thanks,
you.
Antonio.
With Antonio's departure, Tony, we are now faced with a field of 9, which means we are going to consolidate down to 1 feature table, and that is going to affect the action considerably.
Yeah, I love the peer pressure from Lynn Gilmartin. She's like, you gonna fire a 3rd? You going in for 3?
Come on, it's just another 100 grand.
Still want to get in the game? Log on to club.wpt.com and play for free. Become a VIP member and enjoy insider benefits. Plus, take a shot at a share of $100,000 in cash and prizes every month. Win at clubwpt.com, but never lose a dime playing poker, guaranteed.
You know who might have wanted to be playing on Club WPT tonight? How about Antonio Esfandiari? He has dusted off $200,000, Tony.
You know, Elliot, we all love the skill, competition, and risk inherent in poker, but sometimes that risk gets pretty expensive. And if you want to have a home game without spending that kind of money, it is available to you.
That's right. If you log on to clubwpt.com, you can play and practice your poker skills and never lose a dime playing. And if you become a VIP member, you can enjoy a host of great benefits, including seeing all of last season's A8 events, because we were not only here in St. Kitts, but also London, South Africa, and Florida for some great competition.
And instead of risking $100,000 like our Alpha 8 players, on clubwpt.com, you can play for $100,000 in cash and prizes that are given away each month. So check out clubwpt.com.
In the meantime, check out this development. We are down to 1 table of 9 players, no longer a short game. And let's take a look at the faces that are a bit unfamiliar to us because they were seated at the outer table. We'll start with the amateurs. Talal Shakerchi is a hedge fund manager who calls London, England home. Next up, we've got, of course, Bill Perkins, the de facto mayor of Christoph Harbor here. He is a venture capitalist and hedge fund manager. Kathy Laney, his friend. Her company, Suncoast Resources, the largest female-owned business in Texas, and that's saying something.
And we've got a couple of new professionals on the table. We see Dan Coleman, the 24-year-old phenom there, who has taken the poker world by storm over the last 12 months, as well as Alec Torelli, who's been a regular on the WPT tour for a few years now and is now graduating to super high rollers.
Here is that 9-person lineup. Olivier Bousquet is the chip leader right now. Second in chips is the amateur, Talal Shakerchi, and blinds are at 6 and 1200. The ante is 200. The chip leader is first to act with ace-9 offsuit, and right away we see the impact of 9-handed action. That hand would have been played short, but not here.
That's right. Olivier definitely would have raised the ace-9 on our previous table, but now he's got another 5 players to get through before he reaches the blinds.
Look at this. Michael Singh doesn't appear to have shifted any gears now that we're 9-handed. Still limping and still with sub-premium hands. He's got 10-7 offsuit here.
Yeah, I wonder if Michael will get a little bored with the long-handed play and end up limping even more hands.
Kathy Laney is punishing the limp. She makes it 2600 with her ace-8 suited, and the action on the button of Dan Coleman, who looks down at a suited connector, 6-7.
And Kathy is isolating Michael's limp here a little bit, but it's not going to work this time. She raised pretty small, and Dan Coleman with the suited connector behind her is going to make the call.
And do you think this is the kind of call that Dan makes if it was 2 pros in front of him that had made this move?
It's hard to say, and it's going to depend on their stacks, but he's definitely going to make the call when it's 2 amateurs.
I call.
Alec is doing the same from the big blind with that ragged ace.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see him making this call. I guess it's a pot odds call here since he's getting a pretty good price, but you normally don't want to be calling raises out of position with weak offsuit aces.
They're insane. Like, some of the pros get tired.
Michael Singh, of course, not to be bullied, makes the call. 4 players head to a flop of king, 10, deuce, rainbow, and Michael has the best hand with a pair of 10s. Both Alec and he check it over to Kathy, who won't fire the continuation bet. Dan checks as well with his 7 high, and the turn card is a queen of clubs.
It's an interesting card because it gives Dan a flush draw. It gives both players with an ace a gut shot, but Michael's still the only one who truly is connected.
Kathy Laney is going to bet out 5,000.
She doesn't have much here, and she's got to get through 3 players. Kind of an optimistic bluff unless she intends to follow through on the river.
And you notice that both Kathy and Alec had 0% chance to win the pot. That's because they could only chop, but now that Alec has laid down, Kathy, in fact, has a 6% chance to win the pot. Michael Singh's gonna make the call. And the river pairs the board with a king.
It's a good card for Michael, and we've seen him be very stubborn on the river before.
He checks it over to Kathy, and with 27,000 out there, she calmly and coolly bets 10K. Dan folds with the busted flush, and now it's on Michael Singh.
Wow, she just accomplished the impossible because Michael does not fold on the river when he has a pair. Major respect for Kathy.
No bear. I just had in bed. I'm so tired of losing.
No, I had a 10.
Hey, Michael told the truth again.
What do you mean again? He was just following Kathy's lead. Action folded around to Jason Mercier, who takes a look at ace-king and makes it 2,400 to go, a min raise. Alec and Olivier fold, as does Talal Shakerchi, over to Tony Guglietti on the button with a couple of 7s.
I'm expecting him to just call here, but...
Well, wait a minute, it looks like he's put 3,600 into the pot, but he's also said call.
It looks like an accidental 3-bet here by Tony.
Oh, you're putting in, yeah, we just want to make sure.
Oh.
Oh, and Antonio is returned to the arena here, maybe wanting to take a look at the action, but...
After this hand, we will pause the clock and make it 5 and 5.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, he's coming back in.
$300,000? He's gonna make the investment?
Yeah, he's coming back in, and they're gonna have to break this table up again. It's gonna be a hassle.
It's gonna be a long night.
Did you call already?
Yeah, call.
Resuming the action, Singh puts in an extra 3K with king 6 suited. They have ruled that Tony needs to re-raise to 3,600.
I'm gonna call.
And Bill Perkins wants to play along as well with his Jack 9 offsuit. Action back over to Jason Mercier, and
This is the last hand you said?
No, Antonio's joining, so we're gonna split back to 5 and 5.
But everyone's too distracted by the Antonio situation to even play out this hand.
Antonio said the fish have 5 and the pros have 4. He's like, I'm coming in for the pro side.
You are?
Come on.
Jason taking advantage of an opportunity to move all in here, sensing weakness in the field.
Yeah, this is a nice play by Jason, and he's very happy to see that the accidental 3-bet must stand, because now there's a bunch of dead money in the pot, and he can just avoid any confrontation by moving all in.
No shot.
Indeed. Well-executed move.
It worked out nicely.
And Jason's pretty happy with it.
I was afraid of that, too. I was afraid he could chip it here. By the way, I'm putting a bounty for busting up this table. I'm putting a 5K bounty on Antonio.
Esfandiari's return means that we now need to break down our feature table of 9 players and return to 2 tables of 5-handed action. And if you're wondering why Antonio's bought in for a third bean, let's find out.
Last time we spoke, this man was done for the day, but apparently he is taking the 3rd time lucky angle.
Well, 3 is my favorite number. 3rd time's a charm.
Yes.
And I just went out there, I walked on the beach, I came back, I saw what was going